fucking Europe and England, the way you guys do like zip codes or whatever those numbers are, it felt like I was expensing stuff from another world. It was like, I mean, Trent, did you guys
Here
do
we
this?
go. Let me say it for you. You felt like you were in Harry Potter.
I felt like I was in Harry Potter. It's like, what am I fucking expensing this to Gryffindor? There was dashes, there was numbers, there were symbols I had never seen before. I mean, it was crazy.
Foreplay presented by Barstool Sports. We have a lot to discuss yesterday. Once again, we're recording on Wednesday. Yesterday, Tuesday, just a jam-packed day in the golf news world in a way that's probably never been before. We're getting a lot of unprecedented, new, unique moments in the world of golf. We literally had a judge introduce a case as Mickelson versus the PGA Tour, and everything that came from that is going to be discussed on this very show. And then we have our very good friend Trottie from TaylorMade, who was on a bunch when we were over in Scotland. He's got new things to discuss. We're going to get into Rory and Scotty's what's in the bag setups for the FedEx Cup playoffs, new high toe 3 wedges, all kinds of good stuff from TaylorMade, and Trottie's just hilarious. So having him on the show is lovely. We got the full squad, myself, Trent, Frankie, Lurch. Boys, a lot to get to today.
Ton to get to. I love Trottie. Every time that we get to see and hear him, it is a delight. I'm excited to hear about his pizza experiments that he's been doing at home. I've been sending him the dough recipes. He's been sending me back videos. He said that he had more dough than like the highest selling Italian restaurant you could possibly think of at his house after making his first batch. So that'll be exciting. Crazy day yesterday with the judge. He was all over the place with the pronunciations, and just golf right now is basically like a daytime soap opera drama. And it's soaking up everyone's attention. People on Twitter are going bananas. Brandl's flying off the handle. People are going after Brandl. He's going back after them. It's a very fun time right now on the Twitter sphere for golf. But yeah, it's crazy times, fellas. It's been crazy times for like 3 years. We've been living in like international waters for a long time now. Nothing's felt stable for a long time.
The LIV thing's been going on for it like bubbled up and then it went away, was like dormant, and now people are just sliding away to that thing. Yeah, the golf world is a buzz, and it's a pleasure to sit exactly where we sit. You know, not being on the PGA Tour, not being associated with LIV, just listening to the storylines.
Yeah, it's wild fucking news. I mean, what sport is the go-to top league just under assault from another league that is backed by the worst regime in the world with billions of dollars, and then it goes to court, and we've got Judge Beth Freeman is now just a legend in the world of golf. Everybody's tweeting about her coming down hard on LIV after it seemed like in the beginning of the case, in the beginning of the hearing, that it wasn't going to go that way. I think most people, most legal minds, if you're watching Golf Today and on Golf Central and all that, most people were like, yeah, this temporary restraining order is going to get enacted. I mean, they're going to be allowed to play, to the point where Taylor Gooch and Hudson Swafford were reportedly in a car a mile away from TPC Southwind, ready to enter the gates and play the fucking tournament.
Bro, that is an insane situation that is actually happening in the real world, where two guys don't know if they're going to be able to play in these next events. So they're just sitting in a car like it's a stakeout, getting ready to go. And their cell phone is going to ring, and they're going to get word whether they're going to put that car in drive or put that car in reverse. That is a real thing that's going on. It's pretty incredible.
It's incredible. It's been incredible. It's fun to watch. It's fun to break down. It's an event in and of itself, this battle between the two. And it's a spectacle. Gametime. So I'm going to talk about Gametime real quick, because if you want to go to a spectacle, you want to observe an event, Gametime is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, a ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets, sports, concerts, shows. Football's returning very soon, college football. All shows are back. Obviously, COVID, we had a weird, brutal couple of years, but now everything's back. I went to a show last week. Chris Lane, his brother Corey Lane, and their band at the Wyndham Championship. There's just nothing like going to a live show. It's as fun as it gets. It's what makes life worth living, going to these shows, having a good time, feeling yourself, the energy, the environment. And you get that at games, whether it's a baseball game, football game, golf tournament, whatever it might be. You want to go and experience it. Get out of your house, get out of your apartment, live a little bit. The best part You get $20 off your first purchase using Gametime. You just download the Gametime app, go to the account tab to create a login, redeem code FORE, that's FORE, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We love Gametime, so go check them out. All right, so quick little synopsis, but essentially the LIV Golf Tour, the players from the LIV Golf Tour, just 3 of them, I believe, filed for temporary restraining order on the ban from the PGA Tour not allowing them to play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Basically saying under the guidelines of and the rules of the PGA Tour, we've been allowed forever to go play other tours. We can go play on the European Tour. We can go play the Asian Tour. We went and played on the LIV Tour. It's not allowed for you guys to just ban us based on the rules of the PGA Tour created by the members of the PGA Tour, and we're members of the PGA Tour, so we should be allowed to play on the tour and thus the FedEx Cup playoffs. While this whole thing gets sorted out, you need to remove this ban, the legal system, allow us to play, and then if it's deemed after a trial and everything else that we should be banned, then obviously that is what it is. Usually that's the way that it goes, more often than not. They go in, they have the whole fucking sideshow in court. You've got Alan Shipnuck and all the journalists in there live tweeting about the entire thing. And it was indeed a shit show to the point where the judge originally introduced the case as Mickelson versus the PGA Tour, wasn't discussing it as LIV Golf, but LIV Golf every time, which does kind of make sense because LIV is Roman numeral for 54 because they're 54 hole, not 72 holes. So the fact that we do call it LIV and not LIV or 54 is actually ridiculous when you think about it. And this all getting played out in a fucking court of law in the United States of America, was pretty incredible. And if you think back to when, this thing was called Dead in the Water by Rory McIlroy, you had Commissioner Monahan taking a victory lap at the Players' Championship, to the point now where, we've reached, not only are there 2 competing tours and it's like, yeah, the LIV's going to kind of go off and do their little thing and it's a little weird and different, but it exists. What I like about it is we've got to the point where it's so contentious that now, with the legal battle, and now with these guys trying to reassert themselves into the PGA Tour, it has reached a public point where the other players, Joel Damon and Rory and Justin Thomas and others, and Freddie Couples was tweeting about it, the players of the PGA Tour now have public, severe animosity against the LIV golfers, especially the ones trying to have their cake and eat it too. And that is creating excellent drama and excellent a public war between tours that I wasn't sure we were always going to get, because Justin Thomas had that quote, before the Canadian Open, I think it was, of I'm not going to hate these guys when I go back to, Florida and play golf. Now I think there's legitimate fucking hate between a lot of people.
Yeah, because I saw Scotty say something too. He's like, it's weird now that they're suing us. Those guys left and now they're bringing legal action to our doorstep. I agree. It's definitely reached, there's so many levels to this thing, but it now has reached the level where originally the guys that you mentioned and a few others had said those guys, they can go take the money and then go play. They're able to do that. That's their own decision that they have made. But then when they turn around and they decide to sue the tour that those other guys play for to try to they're just trying to play on that tour, but there's more animosity than that. That's where you're going to get guys who otherwise didn't have a strong opinion really either way are now going to publicly be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And that, I agree, is going to be incredibly interesting.
I think it speaks to our generation, it's socially liberal, financially conservative. It feels like everybody says that they're that. And so these guys, it's yeah, go do whatever the hell you want to do. I don't care if you play on another tour, doesn't bother me. But yeah, now it just comes back and swings against them if it hurts them financially or whatever the case may be. And then I also think it's just to some level annoying that they continue to have to address that certain topic. So I think it's a few things, but now it's obviously there, it's living, and now it's costing deep frustration across the players, and they're just dude, enough. I am not a fan of this. This is a pain in the ass.
And look, from the players' perspective too, right, there's being sued now. And those legal fees and everything that's going to go into this over years is coming out of their, pool, their
Right.
fund, the PGA Tour total money that those guys get to play for, that they get to allocate to charity, to prize pools, to whatever, is now being wasted on legal action. And they now have a right to be pissed. Like, if you chose as a player to leave the PGA Tour and go play LIV, that's one thing. If you choose to do that and then you come back and you take legal action against your former colleagues, your co-members, right? Those guys, you are members with those guys. You sat in meetings, you weighed in, you walked around on the PGA Tour. We talked all week last week about going to events like the Wyndham. It is a fraternity out there. Those guys are chit-chatting on the green. Those are your boys. Those are your peers, your crew. And now you are taking legal action against them that is distracting from the main event, which is obviously the FedEx Cup playoffs. It's literally taking money away. Those guys should be fucking furious, and they are. And from our vantage point, again, it's we'll see net good or bad for golf what it ends up being. But right now, from a pure just media spectacle drama playing out in real time, public sphere vantage point, it's fucking great that this is going on. I mean, it was must follow for an hour and a half, 2 hours yesterday while this trial was going on. And then amidst all of that, you have Cameron Smith, who Cameron Smith has been rumored for a month now, since he really won the British, to be going to LIV. Telegraph, I think it was, reported yesterday that it's a done deal, that him and Mark Leishman are going to be going to LIV. It's reportedly around $100 million deal. And it's big because up to this point, you've kind of been able to, if you're trying to defend the tour, you're trying to, showcase that the LIV Tour isn't really competing with the PGA Tour. You could say that it's a retiree tour. It's Dustin Johnson's probably the biggest name, but he's literally slid off in the last couple of years. You got Sergio and you got Lee Westwood and you got these guys that are over the hill. Phil Mickelson. Now you've got the number 2 ranked player in the world. You've got the guy that will be the anchor for the President's Cup team, which is the PGA Tour's version of the Ryder Cup. Remember, PGA Tour owns and operates the President's Cup to the point where they put fake fans in the crowd to try to make it seem awesome, which you guys exposed down in Melbourne.
That was a tough look.
Who is the reigning Open champion, which the Open Championship is from the traditionalist standpoint is even more coveted than the Masters. It is 1860, old Tom Morris, playing for all the right reasons, links golf, the whole fucking deal at the old course, St. Andrews. Now that guy is going to be, this guy that won such a monumental tournament. Rory McIlroy called it the holy grail of golf. That guy's just going to be the face of LIV Golf now. That is game changing on the LIV versus PGA Tour level.
I agree. And he won the PGA Tour's crown jewel tournament this year. Like, he is doing all the things where it's like, all right, this guy, he's a young stud. He's got a great look. He's got a great head on his shoulders. He can go on runs. That Sunday back 9 run at the British Open was electric. And then he is just going to take all that and go to LIV. That's a problem it takes away, like you said, an arguing point for people who have been defending the PGA Tour and saying that LIV is a retirement tour. Cameron Smith changes the whole dynamic of the argument. And No, go ahead.
He's also doing it in a way that's like incredibly beneficial for him, where he's going to play out the FedEx Cup, right? So like he's getting everything. He's doing exactly what Taylor Gooch and Hudson Swafford want to do. They're probably looking at him like, what the fuck? How come we didn't just wait one more month and then like we could have just done exactly the way he's doing it?
Yeah,
he's completely foiled the entire process. He's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to get all of it.
Yeah, they asked him at
everything you have, I'm taking.
They asked him at his press conference yesterday. They were like, there's these reports that you've gotten $100 million to join LIV, and he's like, I'm not going to talk about that. It's like, okay. Then
at some point, Monahan's got to like go to like Cam Smith's feet and be like, please stop. like if you win the FedEx Cup championship, you've won it all. Like, can you just stop? Like, can you stop?
Yeah, that's
like, what wins at East Lake, it's over.
I see a number that he won $24 million or something. He made $24 million this year or over the last 2 years, and then $100 million from LIV. You win the FedEx, that's another huge chunk of change. He's just going to be an incredibly rich man.
And look, like Cam Smith too, right? I mean, he's doing it maybe the most understandably, because he just hit 45 home runs in a contract year, and he's like, "Yep, I'm gonna go to come talk to me, Greg. Like, let's go." And like,
Right.
and
He's never had more
he,
value. He's as valuable as he's going to get.
Overnight, with a final round 64, went from maybe a $25 million offer to a $100 million offer from, LIV Golf. And he's like, yep, I'm going to take that. And like you said, Trent, great point. He's the reigning, the major of the PGA Tour, their best tournament, their biggest thing they've got by far. He's their defending champion, the Open Championship, all of it. It's just as good as it gets for him. And so he's clearly going to cash in. And then it's reported today that the LIV Golf's going to do, I think, at least 3 events across Australia next year as part of their 14-event series, which is clearly a big pull for Greg Norman. Duh, he's the commish. But you've got them bringing on Cam Smith, Mark Leishman, rumors that Adam Scott, Hideki Matsuyama are going as well. I got a text from a source, Big J stuff last night, basically saying, like, the President's Cup will not exist after the FedEx Cup finishes up because the names that are going to exodus their way over to the LIV Golf, which I think we've been kind of, ready for since the Open Championship finished up. So yeah, things are not fucking slowing down.
Dude, if the President's Cup gets canceled, that's like watching a building.
Davis
No,
Love
it's not
bullshit.
gonna. It's not gonna get canceled. It's just the teams will be decimated.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's like I'm picturing us like looking at like a statue or like a building getting torn down. Like, oh shit, like this is a revolution now. Like this is fucking weird. That would make me feel weird if like fucking President's Cup signs started getting taken down and like people started going home.
I think it's just sad. It'd be really, really sad if that happened. Like,
that would be horrific.
Across the whole world. It'd be like, it's just like, this is pathetic that we can't play this tournament. I mean, it'd be so, so sad. And a quick point on Cam Smith, but then also his boy Mark Leishman, who they obviously do the uniforms and things like that, and the Olympics, and they're obviously boys. What did Leishman, like, what nobody's talking, it's just like he's gone over there, but I have no idea what he's been reported to make. It's like Cam Smith goes over for $100 million, but I haven't seen anything about Leishman. I don't know if anybody has.
Well, that's what we've talked
Just a
about
forgotten
in the past,
ball
where like
striker.
that.
Oh no.
Oh God, back to T's internet. Everybody else is here.
I'm here. Is Frankie frozen too? Are they in the same place? Is it Long Island?
Long Island just got hit with a bomb.
Yeah, is Long Island okay? Here, we'll send a text. So anybody, if you're just, if you're out there listening like a normal person, we've got myself and Lurch are totally fine on the connection front. And we have Trent, who was midpoint, such a good point that he's using hand signals and really getting animated about it. Frankie is listening very intently, and the two of them are just fucking frozen at this point. Now Trent has gone out. He's returned. Frankie has returned as well.
That was like discrimination from Zoom on Long Islanders.
It was insane.
What was that?
That's what we were just saying. We were like,
first of all, that's never happened ever where I didn't even click anything. It closed out my Zoom and then just reopened a new one.
And the whole time I could hear Riggs and Lurch. I was like, you guys are talking. I'm trying to talk back to you guys.
We thought you guys got hit by one of those like electrical bombs from the Matrix, you know?
Let's get these Long Island trash bags out of here. We don't want them on our servers anymore.
I have done multiple podcasts and live shows since our last podcast that have gone seamlessly. It's something about the Foreplay podcast that just the internet shits out. What I was saying, I don't know where we left off, but what I was saying about Leishman was that that's the way to do it, is you enter LIV with a bigger name than you, and no one cares that you're going. It's the Wolfpack analogy that I used. Like, go in with a bunch of people or somebody who's just way bigger than you, and Leishman's just going to skate by. He probably got like, what, 20 million, 25 million, something like that?
I guess around there. Like, I feel like if you're not getting somewhere in the 20s, like, you're a schmuck. You know?
Yeah, you piggyback in. It's like you're storming the gates, but you're behind the guy, and you're just kind of ducking from all the arrows.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake.
That's all you got to do.
It might be tough though for Leash. Like 2 years ago, maybe Leash was like probably more highly regarded than Cam Smith, and now Cam Smith gets 100 schmil and Leash gets like 20.
Yeah. Did you guys see the? There was a bunch of tweets about how the tour was sending around the data on like what the future of the PGA Tour will be when it comes to money, and at one point they said that like if Jim Furyk had started his career in 2022, going forward, he will have amassed $600 million in his career. By the time it was 2042, right? So like,
Right.
do you think that is a good argument for them to make to the current state of PGA Tour players that like, hey, the guys in 25 years are going to make close to $1 billion if you have Jim Furyk's career? Or do they want to have answers like right now? Like, I thought that was pretty good. And it's also kind of sad that like they have that in place, but with things like LIV, you're not going to get that development of guys that are going to want to play a 25, 30-year career on the PGA Tour and accumulate $600 million like Jim Furyk would have had he started in 2022. So just want to get your guys' thoughts on that, because I didn't know how to take that. If I was sitting in a player's room, I don't know how I would take that.
Well, I think their larger point to me was like, look, the PGA Tour is in a phenomenal spot for the future. And if you become a star of this tour, you will make an outrageous amount of money. I mean, Jim Furyk is third all time on the PGA Tour money list. He made over $71 million on the PGA Tour, and that's outside of endorsements. And again, that was with his career ending a few years ago, really, on the PGA Tour, not beginning. So yeah, I think it's a good point. And I think to me, it jumps in the bucket of what we've talked about a lot, where the tour, from a pure monetary competition standpoint, doesn't have any cards to play. So they have to kind of play others. And that's been the morality card. That's been the, projected long-term Jim Furyk career earnings card. Like, they have to play shit that's not just, we're offering you a contract that's a tenth of what LIV can offer, because you're just going to lose that battle every time.
I could just see Cam Smith being like listening to that and being like, okay, mate, like, have fun in 2047. I'm going to have like 1,000 houses by then. Like, what are you doing for me now? Like, what have you... I think the guys that have moved on are saying like, what have you done for me lately? And then you have like the Justin Thomases and the Colin Morikawas that genuinely care about the future of the sport and like golf, and they see that like they probably see that stat being like, that's fucking awesome. Like, one day I'm gonna be like an analyst on the PGA Tour, and I'm gonna be watching these kids like making $600 million from this sport. Like, they're gonna think that like they had the same like value on the younger generation as Tiger did on them. You know what I mean? Like, that's that type of stuff that I think a lot of them think about. But a lot of people also in this world say, what have you done for me lately? And this guy's knocking on my door with a fucking ribbon on it.
Also,
Yeah,
PGA Tour has no like, they don't have like lump sum cash, so they can show a big figure that way, and still like you're going to be.
You also have to be a hell of a golfer to get to that money. You have to like win a ton of tournaments.
They have to say,
I like that they use Jim Furyk as like, Jim Furyk did it. Like, you can fucking do it. Look at him.
Like the low-key the most consistent guy over the last 25 years.
Right, but it just doesn't feel like that. He feels so normal that it's like, dude, if he can do it, anybody can do it. So it's kind of a backslap to him, because like he was so legit and so like a Hall of Famer. And so to throw him up there is like, dude, if he can do it, like anybody can make $600 million on the PGA Tour. It's
if you're
I shot a 58, and they're like, everybody can do this.
Yeah,
dude, he had 29 professional wins, 17 on the PGA Tour. He won the fucking U.S. Open. Like, what? Like, yeah, if you do all that stuff, you're in 2050, you're gonna win $600 million if you have an outstanding career against the toughest competition. Like Jim Furyk did like, throughout all these generations of outrageous talent, Tiger Woods era, Phil Mickelson. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
Jay Monahan's trying to be like, this little bald dude with a weird action, like he could be $600 million. And then you look at the numbers, you're like, no, he's like one of the best players in the history of the game. He shot 58 and a 59. Guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's definitely a slap to him. But they get to show that big figure, which, like, I don't know, whatever. I think like Cam Smith and those guys pocketing $100 million, it's just so much money up front that it's just unfathomable. It's like $100 million wired to somebody's account on interest, doing nothing. It's like, all right. I mean,
dude, it is a ton of money, but it's also, I always have this argument with hockey where like these guys are so fucking talented, and other athletes in this world are making so much fucking money. Like, I can't, like, this dude, what is happening with Trent?
What is happening with Trent? Sorry. He's got two screens now. One's completely frozen. One's like a strobe light into his apartment to see Trent.
There he is. There's two Trents.
I don't know, dude. Doing
There
my
you go.
best.
But you just see these numbers like we always like it's all relative because it's how much the leagues make, but like we'll sit around during trade deadline day for hockey or like free agency day and you're like, you gave this third liner like 1.7 million a year, like are you kidding me? That's so much money. And then you think of like a sixth man on the basketball squad, or like a JJ Redick that is, I mean, nothing against JJ Redick, he's fucking unbelievable and the best college basketball players of all time. But when I looked at his career earnings, like the fact that guy made $120 million being the sixth man on teams is just laugh out loud funny. So like, it's funny to see like, oh my God, that's so much money for Cam Smith, but he's like the most electric player of the sport right now. Like we just won the crown jewel of the sport. He's got a fucking rat tail mullet. He's the most marketable guy ever. He's Australian. Like that dude in the NFL would make $1 billion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you're saying like JJ got 20 million. Cam Smith by literally switching teams, pretty much. Just like instead of playing in the NBA, he's going to play in like NBA Europe. And he made his whole career by making that switch. I mean,
100%. It's crazy. But I'm just saying when you talk about numbers and what they're valued at in the world,
right.
Like there is money out there for sport, for leaders of the sports, and they're clearly getting it in other leagues. So like Cam Smith's like, I'm the leader of this league. I want that kind of fucking money.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of looking at it from $100 million. Like that's just $100 million. It doesn't.
It's a lot of money.
Nothing else matters. It's over. You have $100 million. It's over. It doesn't matter. So it's like
so over.
I don't care how much LeBron's making. You have $100 million. Done. It's like who gives a fuck, dude? Like that castle on Pebble Beach. That's $25 million. You can just buy it. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Tomorrow.
Nothing matters. You could buy a $10 million jet and fly around all the time. You have $100 million. It doesn't matter. So it's like,
and you're going to make more too. You're going to win tournaments.
You're making more.
The Pat Perez model.
Maybe.
Henrik Stenson made $4 million last week. Like just
That's
by
an
winning a
interesting
golf
point, though. The lawyer who had said, the LIV lawyer who had said that the winnings of tournaments are recouped with the original lump sum. And now I don't know if that's contract specific, but it is something that LIV and all the people who play on LIV have denied in the past.
Yeah, they're trying to come out and clarify that because that has been a point of contention. Like I remember, I think Brandel tweeted like several weeks ago that like, yeah, actually it turns out that the money that you win comes out of your contract. And then everybody was roasting and being like, nope, that's not actually how it works. And then the guy in court, the lawyer for LIV, said that is how it works. So who the fuck knows? But I think that the judge has the contracts, like literally has the copies of the contracts for the players and has been going through them. So when this thing does get aired out in trial, we're going to find out a lot more about that. Real quick, you can find out more about all kinds of stuff by listening to the SiriusXM app at home or anywhere you are. No car required. We were on SiriusXM for a long time. Frankie was the producer. Trent hosted a show. I hosted a show. We were on SiriusXM forever. It was a great time. Sirius has a ton of options. You're in the car a lot. You travel a lot. You can stream it all on your phone, online, or at home. They got over 425 channels are on the SiriusXM app. They got great music channels, ad-free music channels for every genre and artist dedicated channels. We got our own little music boy down there, bottom left for me. Catch live play-by-play of games from every major sports league and 24/7 sports talk from the biggest names in sports. You can stay informed. They got world-class news from every single angle. You can hear from the brightest stars in entertainment. PGA Tour Radio, a bunch of our favorites are on there. I know Colt Knost is on there. Michael Breed, the Rooster, as we call him, he's on there. You can subscribe right now, ladies and gentlemen, and get your first 3 months for free of the SiriusXM app. You just visit SiriusXM.com/4playpod offer. Sign up again. You get your first 3 months free. Offer details apply, but go to SiriusXM.com/4playpod offer. First 3 months free of the SiriusXM app. All right. Yeah, I think that the Cam Smith news will be monumental. I think that it will be. I was wondering, like, with the report as concrete as it seems to be, can the PGA Tour take action like now? Right? Like, I mean, is it because they're in a weird spot where they're like, okay, this is our literally the LIV Golf lawyer called it the golf Super Bowl coming up. These next 3 events, and which is very funny and
huge. So that's huge for the PGA Tour. Maybe the biggest win of the day.
The biggest name going in, or the hottest name right now going in, everyone knows he's going to LIV for $100 million. So he's going to come try to take your $18 million that he can win in the FedEx Cup. And then like the day after he cashes that check, he's just going to go to LIV. But going in that he's going to LIV. Like, should they try to do something about that? Can they do something about that?
I could see them just making it impossible. They're making him tee off last. And then so he's got to like finish the next day and like move the holes around and just make it physically impossible for Cam Smith to win, because I don't know what they really can do, because it's all speculation. It's like Cam Smith, yes, is like 99% going to go, but I think barring him coming out and saying like, I am going to LIV Tour, or confirming it or signing the paper, like you can go back to he's an individual like contractor and he can play wherever he wants. And I don't like Monahan and the team over there are scrounging for straws of like where they can get power, and I don't think that they have any in this circumstance.
It's not a good spot. Did we ever end? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what if he signed, like if it comes out later that Cam Smith signed the paperwork like today before the event
and there's started, a lawsuit.
He wins the whole thing, and then they sue and they take the money back.
Then there's legal. Yeah, then it's just woo.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? He could have signed. We don't know.
Then it's like the tour like suing for $25 million, and it'd be like a ridiculous, like with all the money they have, they'd be like taking this guy to court over one tournament. It's like ridiculous.
But to pay their own players,
sure.
You know what I mean? So it'd be like
100%.
Second place would then be the winner. It'd be like it would be the right thing to do. Honestly, I think
it'd be messy for sure.
It'd be really ugly.
Trent's still just out of this fucking podcast right now, right? Do you guys hear him or no?
Yeah, it's something.
You can hear him in the background.
And foreplay podcast is really what it comes down to. Maybe anything that comes from Alex is like just his apartment rejects.
Yeah, Alex is a weird energy when it comes to the Zooms and the Riversides, but he's a great worker. He's the guy fucking grinds his dick off. But there's something about the link. There's something about the link that he I don't know what he does. He puts a little bit of his Alex dust on there, and it just doesn't work correctly. We didn't really talk about, we don't have to get too into it, but I remember we had a bunch of takes about if Monahan, when Phil Mickelson was just taking that leave of absence, and we didn't know where he was going to be, we had a bunch of opinions on whether he was actually suspended or if he wasn't, and if they were keeping that secret. I was very much on the front of there's no way they were lying about it. I remember Trent saying that they could probably be in cahoots about being suspended but not saying he's suspended. Turns out he was suspended. And what was it, upwards of 2 years was the possibility of being suspended. I think I saw it was 2 full seasons for Phil Mickelson.
He was suspended at the time. They said that. Yeah,
there was well, I probably should have pulled up the whole entire thing. It was in their lawsuit that he was or maybe he was threatened to be suspended for upwards of 2 seasons. You saw that, Trent, the Phil Mickelson stuff?
I don't know if I'm here.
You are here.
Hey, you're here.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I had to jump out for 2 seconds.
We were just talking about when Phil, when they filed that lawsuit, a lot of the part of that was that Phil was essentially told that he would be suspended, and I think it was up for 2 years, upwards of 2 years of it. And it's just, I was just saying that we had a lot of discussions about it when he took that leave of absence, whether him and Monahan had an agreement that he would just not play because he was suspended or if he wasn't. So I think we kind of nailed, or I think you actually nailed it on the head of that nail. When you said that, yeah, there was an agreement that he could not play, not that he just didn't want to play, that he could not play, and that they just weren't going to come out and just say that he was suspended.
Hell yeah.
I remember saying that you were wrong about that. There's no way that they'd be lying. Remember, I was there's no way they're just not saying that this guy would be suspended. But according to the lawsuit, all the talks were that he was going to be.
Yeah, I remember the conversation being, and again, I hope I'm here, that that would give Phil ammunition that Monahan was being disingenuous.
Yeah.
And it seems I think my point, again, we have so many arguments on the show that I forget sometimes what side I fall on, but it feels like I was right in that one.
Yeah. It's good to be on the right side of history.
It's great. Good boy, Trent. So we've got, in terms of the lawsuit, it looks like it'll be next year at the earliest. I think the tentative date was next September that this would go to trial. A couple of the cases that were essentially being made tour was essentially saying it would suffer irreparable harm if LIV was allowed to be promoted at their premier events, which is a great point. And then the LIV was trying to essentially say that the PGA Tour has a monopoly. The judge kind of came back and was like, no, they don't seem to have a monopoly because, you guys have like 5 of the 10. The tour made this point too. You have like 5 of the 10 PIP winners from last year are at LIV events. You've got, I think that the number of elite golfers, which was not defined, and this was from the Fire Pit Collective, Alan Shipnuck was live tweeting for them, said that the competition is clearly fierce, was one of the quotes made by the PGA Tour defense, saying that 15 of 13 went to LIV versus the Rocket Mortgage. So when they had that the same weekend, it was like 15 to 13 in terms of elite golfers. Again, that was not defined, whatever you consider that. We're playing LIV versus playing on the PGA Tour event. Which again, great point. So it really almost at this point, like it feels like if the motion were filed prior or earlier when they didn't have as many big names, they might have had a better case to be made, LIV. But at this point, the tour is like, well, if we have a monopoly, you guys have like half of the good play. Like, what do you mean there's a monopoly? Like, you guys are just clearly competing against us. So I think that hurt their case, and ultimately the judge, I think, made the right decision. And I know a lot of people were pumped about it and taking victory laps and all that.
So the John Deere took a couple shots. I didn't love that.
They're shitting on the John Deere, man.
Fucking crazy, dude. Like, what
Really
the fuck?
sorry. And the Byron Nelson.
I'm already not the biggest LIV guy on the planet, as you know, if you listen to this podcast at all, that comes across pretty well. But certainly I'm going to dig my heels in now. They're being like, we wouldn't be here if this was the Byron Nelson or the John Deere. It's like, how about you guys go fuck yourselves and take your blood money?
Oh no. Shit. LIV versus Trent Ryan.
Let's do it. I'd love to go to court. That's it's not is it libel? I always get those two confused.
Liable?
Sure.
I just watched Better Call Saul. I don't know anything about law.
Anything.
Trent's
again?
fucking frozen.
Oh,
he tried to
just
make a
reading.
fucking
He's
point.
kind of coming back.
He tried to make a point and he just froze. What
Yeah.
were you saying? Oh, he's back.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. But it's been recorded locally. Fuck, it's such a nightmare.
Doesn't matter.
I know what you're trying to say. I think it's libel, Trent. Libel, where essentially they're defaming the John Deere Classic, and you want legal retribution for that.
Let's do it.
Pay the man.
Let's do it.
I saw Danny Rapport made the point. He was adding up the different numbers from a bunch of the people that have been offered. Phil, 200 million. DJ, 150 million. Bryson, 125. Brooks, 100. Cam Smith, 100. That's 675 million from LIV to sign 5 players. Total revenue for the PGA Tour in 2022 is right around the 1.5 billion. So they're essentially halfway there, and they're halfway there on their expenditures just on 5 players. That's not the build outs. That's not all their legal team. That's not hiring of all the production people and everybody behind the scenes. That's not hiring Greg Norman. That's not hiring the Taylor Gooches and the Sergio Garcias of the world. That is literally just 5 fucking golfers. And they're almost halfway. They're over a third of the way to the entire revenue in a year for the PGA Tour, which has all of the sponsors and the hospitality and the TV broadcasting rights and everything else. So from the vantage point of they're trying to create a viable business model, seems like that's not particularly the case.
And their tickets on Gametime or wherever are going for $1. So it's like they're not going to recoup much money there either.
No. Now it is early. Who knows? They might get broadcasting. I know that people are kind of saying they're focusing more on the international angle going forward, that golf clearly has a big appeal in Asia, in Australia, and other places outside of the United States. So if you capture that market, you might be able to get some pretty lucrative TV deals and broadcasting deals. So who knows? But at this point, again, you're sending out $2 billion is the number that's been kind of heard. And if the PGA Tour, which has been around for fucking ever, is only driving $1.5 billion annually in revenue, it seems really hard to figure out how you're going to turn a profit anytime soon or justify that you're trying to create a viable business model. So that's the latest. Anybody have anything else on the LIV Golf PGA Tour situation? Love it. I think we covered it pretty well. I think we're doing a good job, boys. We're not the biggest. I would say we're not the greatest legal minds in the world on this show.
No, I just watched Better Call Saul, and they fucked up the whole exciting part of the whole entire series. I watched it for 7 years, and they just tweeted out that, like, the biggest part. Right before the season. I talked about that a couple months ago, and like it happened last week, and I just wasn't excited because I knew it was happening.
Yeah. Damn. Sorry about that there.
Anybody on this podcast ever have law school aspirations?
No.
Not once.
Everyone, my whole family told me I should have been a lawyer because I argue everything and I'll never stop until I win, and I would have been a great lawyer. But I think that's like a common thing to say to someone that's being a little dick, or you're like, oh, you should have went to law school with that fucking mouth.
Because one thing we're not on this show is just factually correct.
No. Never.
I'm not reading those fucking
practice.
law books and shit.
Right.
I'm not reading fucking depositions and shit. Are you crazy, bro?
Any buddy of mine that went to law school, he was like, this was a mistake. It is so much work. It's so much more work after you get after you're an undergrad. It's just way more work.
If I could be like, if I could be the person that goes and makes an argument for someone, I would, like, just without having to do any preparation, I would love to do that. Like, you give me just 10 points and I'll fucking argue that just to argue it. I think I'd do a pretty good job. I really do. I think that I would do a pretty damn good job of convincing a jury that this guy is either guilty or not guilty, whichever.
You're
side
like the
gonna put me
opening
on.
comments guy.
I would
Opening
love to do
comments
that.
from the defendant. It's just Frankie on just a 5-minute riff, and then like the
I
legal
mean,
team takes over.
And then
Dude,
half the
problem-
time it's like me just being like, what are we, fucking crazy? You know what I mean? Like, are you crazy that you think this guy did this? It's just, there would be a lot of that. And I don't think, I think it'd go over pretty well.
I fear for you that the guys that do the preparation would get up there and just poke some serious holes, and that by the end of it, they would like have you arguing for the other guy. I feel like at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Frankie flip happens just on like
Totally.
you're just 50%. 50% you dominate and you create like some new argument, and the guy who's like murdered 3 people is just off clean. But then the guy that like tied his shoes in public the wrong way, you're like defending him, and now he's got like a life sentence.
Yeah. No.
I could just see Frankie looking over at the defendant being like, oh, you actually did this. That's kind of
This guy,
That's really
guilty.
wrong, man. That's wrong.
I think I'd start off with a
fucking did
pop. I'd get the people going, and then like they'd make an argument against me that's clearly factual. I'd be like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. You
I'm
know
gonna
what I
go
mean?
get some lunch. I don't,
The thing
I'm
about
gonna go-
lawyers, and you watch all these famous trials, is like even when they're presented with "we got you" facts, they still are never like, yeah, I guess so. Like,
No,
they
they're
always have an answer. They always have like, they're always able to spin it some way. I think I would end up just claiming defeat and being like, yep, you're right. Like, I argued just to argue. I'm getting paid for it.
Yeah, there's the closing argument right there. Just nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say.
All right, we've got. We're moving on. LIV. Well, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about it next week. Obviously, something will happen. Something always fucking happens. But other golf news: Rickie Fowler and longtime caddy and his childhood buddy, Joe Scovrin, have split up. Scov is a Scottsdale guy, so I know him pretty well. I think the general kind of sentiment around the whole thing is just that when you're in a slump, you need to fucking change. Rickie's been in a slump for years. I don't think it's anything personal. I saw a posted and it had a couple quotes being like, it's been this. The split is very hard on both of us. You just need a fresh look. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think it's anything, again, over like animosity, anything like that. A lot of people pointing to some interesting timing with Will Zalatoris split up with his caddy last week. Scov is very well respected out there. He's very well liked. He's in the circles with all those guys. He's a member up at Whisper Rock, so he knows pretty much everybody. I imagine he'll land a really good bag, whether it's Zalatoris or somebody else. I think it'll be somebody kind of on that level, some up and coming stud, whatever. I don't think he's going anywhere, but yeah, that's obviously going to get a lot of media attention. Rickie is as big of a marketable name in the world of golf as exists. I do think that if it turns out Rickie ends up signing for LIV here pretty soon, I imagine Scov would not be very happy about that because, you know, if Rickie signs for like $100 million, that's $10 million that he just didn't get.
That's an interesting question, actually. What do we think Rickie's value is right now as a LIV guy?
As low as it could be, but still pretty high.
That's what makes it interesting.
Can't be lower than like 50 or 75 million. You know, it's not like his
Right.
social presence and like his brand is so strong that
Is it
when you
still?
might go,
Yeah, when you go to a tournament, dude, think about how many
Okay.
kids have like a giant orange Ricky Puma hat on. You know, like they still fucking love them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's just another generation coming though.
True. Yeah, I mean if I were Ricky, and it's a weird spot. Again, it's cool that it's very equatable now to normal kind of team sports that we follow. But like Ricky would probably benefit more from grinding his dick off, figuring it out, which is easy to say, but having like a really good tear the next 6 months and then signing with LIV. Like he might literally double his value at that point if he goes out, starts contending, starts playing really well. Maybe he's in the mix in like one of the bigger tournaments in the spring and then signs with LIV. He might literally double his value like that. You know what I mean? I feel like the Greg Norman is very much into the headline game right now and like stealing the PGA Tour's, guys based on their current value. That's why they have 5 of the top 10 PIP guys. So I feel like that would benefit Ricky more, whereas he might sign right now and then all of a sudden start playing way better and be like, fuck, I left $100 million or $50 million on the table.
I have a question that's a legal question that we're not gonna be able to answer because we just went over that. None of us went to law school, but now that the lines have been drawn between LIV and the PGA Tour, and they know what the penalties are, like the LIV players, the guys that jump over, Greg Norman knows it's very clear where the lines are. Like if you jump, you can't play. And now the argument is that, or it's been for a long time, that we want everybody to coexist and for people to be able to play on both tours. But now that that's not possible in the current reality, if you jump, you get banned from the PGA Tour. Doesn't it hurt their argument that they're trying to coexist if they keep poaching players at this point?
Yeah, I think their coexist argument and the players' arguments of we want to play less golf and spend more time with our families has just fallen apart and is clearly carries no like weight because at this point, like LIV next year is going to be 14 events. So it's like those events are going to cross with the PGA Tour. Right at the beginning of this year, their argument was like, no, we're only doing 8 events. Those events are not up against any big tour events. And a lot of them are not even when there's events. Next year, it's like if you're doing 14 around the world, almost all of them are going to coincide with PGA Tour events. So you are very directly competing and stealing players from events that they would be playing on the PGA Tour.
Right.
And coincidentally or at the same time, the guys that are jumping to LIV that said we want to play less golf, 3 of them are literally suing trying to play more golf and play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. And now next year they're going to have 14 events that they're required to play by their contracts that are in fucking Australia and all over the world. So now, I mean, if your mandatory minimum on the PGA Tour is 15 events, unless you have like a lifetime card. So you're going to have to play the same amount on LIV Tour, except now you're going to fucking Australia, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, wherever the fuck you're going. That just adds to more time that you're not with your family. So now you're playing at least the same amount of golf, if not more. And so those 2 arguments I think are clearly just bullshit.
Yeah, and it seems like Monahan's argument up to this point has been a morality one. That's been the card that he's been playing the most. But now it's almost, you can start to form an argument that it's a competing tour and we want to keep the best players in the world. Like the more guys that go and the more it shifts and the more golf they're going to play and the more weeks that the LIV tournaments are going to compete with the PGA tournaments, it's almost like they're building Monahan's argument for him.
Yep.
That's what it looks like to me, at least.
Totally. No, I absolutely agree. I think they are. I think they clearly have. And I think that that's going to hurt them in court. Like the fact that their argument has had to consistently shift is just going to be more proof in court that they're full of shit. That like they are directly trying to steal players from the PGA Tour. They are directly trying to compete against and ultimately dwarf the PGA Tour. That is Greg Norman's mission. That's been his mission since like the 90s, has literally been to dominate the tour. And so, I do think the argument that other folks have made being like, the PGA Tour mishandled this, they should have just like coexisted. I don't think Greg Norman's mission was ever to coexist. I think he wanted to dominate. I think he wanted to say, fuck you to the PGA Tour. He's had an axe to grind with them for decades. And I think Jay Monahan knows that. He doesn't like him. And he's tried to do everything in his power to hold the tour together and not allow a competitor to the PGA Tour to ultimately take over. And I think that like that is going to play out in court. And I think your point's going to be proven to be correct. And I think that's really going to hurt LIV when they try to win these battles in court. But I also don't think it's going to matter. Like the LIV, by this point next year, LIV's going to have 14 events. They're going to have been through fucking Australia. They're probably going to gain traction in places like that, right? Like we saw in Jersey, people were already pretty excited. I know they're giving away tickets for $1, but there were some pretty cool clips of like a scene of a pretty packed crowd. The fucking former president of the United States was out there. When they go to Australia and they bring like a bunch of the top players in the world to Australia for like a 3-event series, and then those guys are also going to play probably, the Australian Masters and the Australian PGA, which they don't usually play. And you've got Cam Smith, who's the reigning Open champion. He's there with the fucking claret jug. Like people in Australia, we saw how pumped up about sports they are. Like they're going to be fired up. So now when they go to court next year, Jay Monahan's going to have not just a competing tour, but like they're going to have arguments that tour is bigger than the PGA Tour at that point globally. And it's going to be a different place next year when they start to debate this in court and have a trial.
That was going to be my point. By the time this actually gets to court, will LIV even care about the lawsuit? Like, will they even care that their guys can't play on the PGA Tour in these events? Like, they might be, like you're saying, a legitimate competing tour by that point where they grab even more PGA Tour players by then. And then it's just like, yeah, no, you guys can do your John Deeres. We're just going to keep playing over here and it's over. The lawsuit might flip. The PGA Tour might be the ones being like, we want the players back.
Yeah, they're in a shitty spot. I mean, we've been saying that for months now, but the tour is just kind of in a shit spot. And now, I mean, think about how important that final round battle between Rory and Cam Smith is going to become when it's Cam Smith is like the champion of LIV Golf and Rory is the champion of PGA Tour, and he just got beat down the stretch at the old course at St. Andrews by Cam Smith. It's getting worse and worse for him. Luckily, boys, it can be better and better because everybody knows how much we rely on our friends at Peter Millar for on and off course apparel. We're also big fans of their innovative active line. Peter Millar has jumped into that game. All right. Yeah. They used to make polos and pants and you just looked like kind of a golfer. That was what they did. They did it better than anybody else, but now they also do the active line better than anybody else. They feature the same incredible attention to detail and signature performance innovation you've come to expect from Peter Millar, just a class act in the game. This season's lineup of active styles is defined by clean simplicity and high-powered performance that's primed for your next workout. From performance t-shirts and layers to shorts, joggers, the Peter Millar Active Collection has everything you need to crush those sunrise sessions or evening workouts this summer. That might be what we need, boys and girls, to convince ourselves to actually work out. We talked about it last show. I saw some people float the idea that like we walk when we play golf. That might be a good way to get a fun version of some exercise. Yeah, right? Head on over to petermillar.com/foreplay to discover the entire active collection. We get you complimentary shipping over there as well, and you can see a bunch of our favorites from the active line to hoodies to pants, EB66, 5-pocket pants, all kinds of good stuff. petermillar.com/foreplay. All right. Tom Kim, another great quote from him. He had no idea. It said on how much he made. And I think it's a Steve Williams quote that was flying around that was related to this. But for anyone who doesn't know, when players go into the scoring area on Sunday, they have a sheet in front of them. And that sheet has your finishing position correlating to the prize pool and how much you win for that finishing position. It's very common. Players finish up their scorecard. They go down the list. They put their finger on the sheet. They look over and they see how much money they made that week. Steve Williams came out and said, never, not once did I ever see Tiger Woods do that. He never had any idea how much he made. He never cared. He played for the trophies. And Tom Kim came out and said, I haven't checked. I don't even know how much I won on SiriusXM's Hitting the Green. And then he said, Tiger never checked. If I can just play well, everything will take care of itself. I'm not even interested in how much it is. Anytime somebody pulls like a Tiger never checked or this is what Tiger did, so that's what I'm doing it. I fucking love it. We got a 20-year-old phenom coming out there shooting outrageous, whatever the fuck he shot, 62s or 61 on Sunday to win the tournament by 5 shots. And he's kind of instantly invoking Tiger Woods' thoughts. That just makes me love Tom Kim even more.
100%. You got to take it from the GOAT, whatever he did, you got to try and emulate and then spin it into your own little version of it. That's how the next greats are made. And yeah, I love everything about it. Don't even look at it. Like I'm watching The Captain, the Derek Jeter documentary, and just like when you do things a certain way, it's just like things happen. Like if Tom Kim lives his life like this and plays like that and has that kind of like pedigree and swagger and like doesn't care about any of that stuff, like things are just going to happen for him. That's just the way it works. Like Jeter just did different things walking around the clubhouse. Like he had a different way of doing things. He didn't care about all the other bullshit. And like then he ended up becoming Derek Jeter. Like I really think that if you go into your career doing little stuff like that, it makes a big difference. Something as simple as not checking that sheet, I think, makes a huge difference for Tom Kim's career.
It does, but it's like he's like, I mean, you're making strong claims. Like anytime you do the Tiger comparison or a Jeter comparison,
I know
when you've literally showed up and won once, it's just a lot early. Like
no, I get that,
it,
but you have to
sure.
start somewhere. So like I just think that like if that's his
Going
goal,
public changes it. Yeah.
If that's his goal, like he's like setting his story already with us, where we're like, okay, now you got our attention that you're trying to do something a little different now. Like in that, I think that's really cool.
If you're trying to be a great golfer, why wouldn't you just try to do every single thing that the greatest golfer ever did? Like,
Yeah,
that's just.
I bet he took a peek, just a little. Just a little down there, a little spot. Just like take a look. He got it.
I don't think he did, dude.
It's a good story, and it's a great. I hope
Yeah.
that he continues, but he took a peek, and he knows. Everybody kind of knows what you're going to get anyway. It's not like
also in this day and age, you can't get away from like the notifications and shit. Like on Wednesday, he's just getting like a Bank of America like deposit of $1.6 million, whatever it is. Like it's just
right. It's a good story. It's a good. I like the thought process of it, but he knows.
How much did he make?
Fucking,
It's like 1.3 or something.
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
He'll know.
$700,000
Maybe he
just in his
doesn't
bank
look at
account.
what like he made, but he'll know that like now everything going forward it's a little easier. The hotels are a little easier, the flights are a little easier, like everything, the food's a little easier. Like you don't have to worry about all that stupid shit anymore.
It's not Cam Smith easy though. You know, it's not.
Cam Smith could just lay down and people will take him wherever he needs to go. They'll just carry him from his apartment or his giant mansion to the car, to the private plane. They'll pick him up like a widow baby and they'll take him to the nicest hotel in the city with the nicest catering. Like with a guy with money like that, you don't have to do shit.
I want to get picked up like a little baby. I would love to get fucking carried around.
Frankie get burped like a widow baby.
Sucking on my fucking teat water bottle. Trent, are you wearing khakis right now?
Yeah.
I tweeted out yesterday, do you think Trent has worn khakis more than anyone else on the planet in the last 4 years combined?
Yeah, for sure.
People who work at Target probably wore it more.
Right. But I think you're right up there, dude. I think you might be top 10 because I think Jim Harbaugh is for sure up there. Yeah. I think it's between you and him for most famous khaki wearers over the last 5 years. Yeah, but I bet Jim
wears shorts from time to time. T-Daddy's just, no matter what he's got khakis on. Besides golf, he puts on golf pants, like some Peter Millar pants. But besides that, it's khakis.
That's true, dude. When we were doing, we're still doing them. When we first started doing at-home podcasts during the pandemic, Trent would be laying in his bed in his apartment in the city, and he was wearing khakis in his bed because he used to get dressed, right? Like to try and get yourself ready for the day.
Yeah, I did that. Back when I first started blogging, I started doing that this was a long time ago, but when you start to blog, you can just stay home. When we were all in different cities, you can just stay home and be a piece of shit because nobody's going to see you. You're not going into an office. And when I originally first started blogging, I'd like to get up, shower, put on normal clothes, drink coffee, just to like keep my rhythms right. And when the pandemic started, I did something very similar where, yeah, everyone was at home and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to shower. You don't have to change clothes. But I like the feeling of like getting up, showering, putting on regular clothes, and then laying in bed and doing a golf podcast.
Dude, one of those days, I think I had like 30 steps. Remember that? And like, I think half of that was like lifting up the phone and putting it down and going to the bathroom. So I don't think I left the bed the entire day. But yeah, no, because someone tweeted at me maybe like something about Trent's an iconic khaki wear or something, like he just wears khakis. And it really got me thinking. I think you might be the number one khaki. I think you do beat Jim Harbaugh. I think he does wear shorts a lot.
Right. He relaxes. I'm sure Jim puts on jeans. You know what I mean? Like T-Daddy doesn't do that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think you're the number one khaki wearer in America?
Again, Target employees are probably nipping at my heels, but I would argue that I'm certainly top 5. I do wear them all the time.
I
But
disagree.
dude, the
They
day
work
they're
4
wearing
days a
khakis,
week.
you're wearing them too. The day they're wearing them, you're wearing them too. It's not like
Yeah,
they're
but
catching you anywhere. You're doubling down on the weekends. You know what I mean?
what about like some sales bros? Like, are there sales bros who wear khakis every day and then they'll also wear khakis when they play golf and they'll also wear khakis like when they go out?
Well, now you're describing Trent. So like that's like one, maybe there's another person like that. Yeah. Maybe there's another salesman like that.
T, do you wear them 7 days a week?
Yeah.
So what
Dude, he's number one. What are we talking about?
From
He's
4 p.m. to like 10
number
p.m., what do you
one.
wear? From 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., what do you wear?
I wear them a lot. Like I've had this argument in the office,
Then
in the
you
Barstool
wear
office,
them a
when
lot.
me and John Feidelberg were on the side of, even when we get home from work, we don't take our jeans or khakis off right away. A lot of people jump right into the soft clothes. But we just kind of, John was saying that sometimes he just falls asleep in his jeans, which is
You ever
very
fall asleep in your khakis?
No. They come
Oh,
off.
thank
But
God.
no, I wear them a lot. I never thought I'd be.
You yank the chain in khakis or what?
What?
You twist the whistle, you yank the chain in the khakis or what?
No.
You got to get some soft clothes for that.
Okay.
I'm free as I'm wearing my birthday suit when I'm doing that. But
Okay.
no, I don't know. I didn't know we were going to power rank khaki wearers, but I certainly got to be in the top 5. I would think.
Dude,
No,
it's
and I'm not
crazy
saying
not to. It's crazy not to power rank them, because if you're number one in the world at something, we need to discuss it. And it never hit me ever until yesterday, where it's like, I can't imagine another person beating him.
Well, if it's 7 days a week, nobody's catching them. I mean, then you're
No,
going like
there's no
to
way.
total minutes in khakis, where it's like T Daddy's still up there, and maybe number one, because it's like 7 days a
Total
week, nobody
annual
catches
minutes
them.
in
Total
khakis?
minutes. What's that? Trottie here?
Oh, is that Trottie? Well, I see Ollie, but I don't see anyone. I see Ollie's screen.
Stand by.
Ooh. Hello, Trottie.
I might be the king of khakis.
Total. So we're gonna say total minutes, annual minutes in khakis. Trent's number 1.
I think so.
He's the king of khaki. He's the king of khaki, dude. There's not even a fucking debate.
I would say the only chance somebody passes him if somebody's like more active than Trent. Like, I don't know what time he sleeps to and what time he goes to bed. So like, that would be the time where I'd be like, maybe this guy gets up at 6 and goes to bed at 10 and is a true khaki wearer, beats you out. But besides that, barring that individual, you're number 1.
Feels good.
What's it? Is Trottie in a fucking club or something? Is that a TaylorMade club?
Feels like we're working on the
There's lights
the
going
backdrop.
on. There's a plant. This has Ollie written all over it. He's very artistic and a photographer. I love this background. Look at how fucking official this shit is.
We are live.
Oh wow, he's changing the lighting.
Oh,
Holy
wow.
fuck, Ollie.
Oh,
He just came from below.
Dude, you look like you're about to do like
Dude, what is
How big
going
is
on?
that set? Because you look kind of tiny when you came up there. How big is that
Trottie,
set?
did you walk under the desk? How the hell did you get to that spot?
Well, we're going. I mean, they put me up through the floor, lads. We're going for the big entrance, weren't we? You know what I mean?
That was insane.
Great.
That was the craziest
Wow.
entrance in foreplay history. You came from
think,
beneath the table.
I think we possibly needed a few takes on that, but it is what it is, lads. It is what it is. How you all doing?
Great. How are you?
Better now.
You're at like the TaylorMade Entertainment Center or something. What is this?
Boys, this is the TaylorMade production studio. This is pretty impressive what we've got going on here, to be fair. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed. What have you lads come with then? We got crap internet with Trent. We got tennis tournaments going on with Lurch. He's quit golf, I think, playing just tennis. We got bands happening. We got pro-ams. There's a lot to talk about here, boys.
It's great to see you, Trottie, man. You just bring a
Seriously.
different type of energy in here, and it's fucking amazing how
Well,
already
frankly,
we
this
all
is-
have
this
smiles
is-
on our faces.
This is a bit more energy than the last time you and I did a podcast. I thought I was going to have to put you to bed.
Oh, I know. We were fucking exhausted last time.
So Trottie, what's up? What's going on with you? What are you hawking these days? We want to jump right into these high toes. I saw this little lesson you gave Lurch that was all over from Dumbarton Links yesterday, where I'm looking at like the oil drill and the sea and the beautiful
Great
sunlight
lesson.
glistening off the sea. And then Lurch just like baby feathers one to a couple feet with the high toe.
Used every cutout of that wedge.
Surgeon hands, Lurch. Surgeon hands.
From
It's no
my
wonder you're
coach.
winning. I tell you what, you were going to hustle me on that tennis. It's no wonder that he's winning trophies and stuff. I didn't realize you had hands like that, little drop shots out there like Steffi Graf.
That's right. Cute little paws on me.
Yeah, look, boys, it's been a busy week. I've been out in Memphis, so it took me a little while to recover from the Barstool Scotland trip. I've got to be honest, took it easy for a little while, and then I've just been out in Memphis working with the boys on some of these high toe threes, just peeling the tape off here of this one. So obviously, look, it's raw face, full face score lines. You lads saw all the tech. But also, this one's an easy one for me. I'll be honest. Sometimes you get some weapons that TaylorMade produce, and you look at them and you're like, yeah, it's nice. It's not what I'm going to play, but I play this thing, so I'm all in on it. I mean, it sits beautifully. I could probably even nip one off this table if I'm going to be honest with the mill grind sole there, lads. But, you know, if Big Lurch is showing us Steffi Graf hands, then I think that speaks volumes for this puppy, doesn't it?
So what's the benefit into switching into the high toe as opposed to the ones that I currently have? Because I feel like I finally figured out the wedges. I talk about my yips in past tense. It's a new thing I'm doing, that I used to be a bad chipper. I used to skull fuck wedges. Now I have these high toes, and it's like, well, Trottie, you got to convince me to use these things, because I'm loving my MG3s that I currently have. So let's talk to me.
Anyone who is wearing a Tiger Barstool hat, anyone bringing that level of swag, you know, these fuck sculling wedges, that's a thing of the past. If you can wear that hat with the confidence you've got here, Frankie, then you can play anything, my friend, anything. But basically, boys, the biggest feature about this that I like, and look, you can see it here between finger and thumb, there's a lot there. There's a lot of mass. I'm actually going to come around the table and make sure you can actually properly see this. But there's a lot of mass right there, okay? I like to get in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That right there is a lot of space, a lot of mass. So if you're, you know, not quite got the hands of Lurch, and you go under that thing and you hit it high out the blade, and that's that lie that he had there in Scotland. And you get them a lot. It's not just in Scotland you get them, especially here in SoCal as well, and in Memphis where I was this week, where the ball sits up on like that Bermuda-y, minging type grass where you just got no chance. Then all this mass up here and this little toe cap, raised toe cap up there, that's going to give you the energy transfer. It's going to give you the launch. It's going to give you the spin. It's going to help you out. So for the layman's like me, you guys, a little bit, but if you catch it high in the blade, you're going to get some energy out of it around those little feely touch shots that Lurch demonstrated so great for us. And then look, when it comes to the tour, boys, you've got so many bounce options. I've only got a couple here, but this one's got 10 on it. You can get high bounce on it. You can get low bounce on it. Bounce is basically whatever you give into the turf, it's going to give you back. And the best chippers in this world, they put the blade down into the turf. They leverage the middle of the mill grind sole, and then the club will pop back to them and give them that beautiful sound, especially that you get on like tight lies in Scotland. But you can also, like Memphis is tricky for it. We went through it this week with Rory talking about mill grind soles and stuff. And the guy's just given me an absolute masterclass. I mean, it's like one of those things that you're watching. He's hitting little draw fader, and then he's hitting little fades in there. He's like, here, I'll try, you know, I'll spin a little one in here that goes up the hill. Then he's doing one that goes down the hill. And you're sat there and, you know, I'm nodding with him going, yeah, that's awesome, mate. And it's as if he's playing the PlayStation and he's tapping like L1 or R1. And you're watching this thing go, and for a slight moment there, I actually thought that I could maybe do what he's talking about. And then when he leaves and everything calms down and you're like, Jesus Christ, he is so good at golf. He is so good. The guy's spinning this and spinning that, and you're just like, masterclass, absolutely. And you realize how fortunate I am just to be the muppet on the other end talking to him about playing new wedges. You know what I mean?
Made you think of me, Trottie, I bet, right? You know, that little the hands of steel right there.
I'm not
Exactly.
Rory, but I put the high toes in my bag before we flew to Scotland, and I played some of my best golf in Scotland. Those videos have not come out yet, but we've got a travel series with all of us. Trottie's there. And I use those wedges, and I chipped pretty damn well in Scotland. Now we're back over here on States. I've been doing breaking 90, and I've still been chipping pretty well. I've got other problems with my game that people are quick to point out, but the wedges right now with the high toe wedges, I love them. And honestly, what it is for me, when I put that club on the ground and I look down, I love the way it looks. There's just so much down there that I feel confident that no matter how shitty of a swing I put on this wedge, it's going to get ball and it's going to go ahead. It's going to start heading in the right direction. I love the high toes.
Is
Here's
that
a
because the
little thing.
grooves, T Daddy? Because you like seeing all those grooves?
I love it.
Here's a little thing, boys. You know those P7 TWs? I did a little thing this week out in Memphis with Scotty Scheffler. And you're going through his bag and he plays the P7 TWs. I would ask you boys, next time you're either around TaylorMade or you're in a golf shop and you see a set of those, and anyone who's listening, get the whole set off the rack. They're in the shop and they're going to look at you going, oh, don't be marking them up. Oh, are you buying them, son? And all that shit. Get them all out, line them up, 3-iron through to pitching wedge. And you will see that the pitching wedge is colossal. And you sit there and think about this and you'll be like, why has Tiger Woods got such a big pitching wedge? That doesn't make sense. Then you put them together and you grab the 3-iron. That thing is tiny. Obviously, Tiger doesn't miss the middle in any of those clubs. But my point is that he's onto something. He's onto the grading through the set. He's onto the blade length in the 3, grading all the way through to the pitching wedge. Now then put it into, as you say there, Trent Daddy, and you get into these high toe 3s. You want something that is big like this because you don't know how you're going to go into the blade. You don't know what the turf's going to do. A trip like we made in Scotland, some of those golf courses are new. Some of those golf courses have been there since Moses was a small boy. You don't know what that turf is going to do because we're just simply not good enough to figure that out. So if you've got a wedge with a face on it that looks like something off of Mario Golf, then you're loving life, aren't you? You know what I mean?
100%. I couldn't agree more with that.
Trottie, you mentioned Scotty Scheffler. We got to talk about that video where he called out his distances. I think he was with Adrian, and he called out his distances and just pegged pretty much every one of them to the yard.
Yeah, crazy, eh? I mean, you wonder if Adrian's dropped him a few quid or he's dropped Adrian a few quid just so they agree, like, I'll do a little finger move so you can tell me how far this is. But no, look, I know he hasn't. And they put a lot of work into clubs and irons. And a lot of the great things about that, they were at his home track. So you know how it is, mate. You get home into your own bed and it's just all your own bathroom, your own house. Everything feels cushy, doesn't it? I think when you're practicing like that and you're as good as he is at your own range with your own balls and you see your own flight and you feel your own turf. I mean, I'm talking as if I can relate to this. I'm talking as if I can spin wedges left to right, right to like Rory McIlroy. But when you're around these cats and you see them in person, as you boys now have started to do, you realize they're just so damn good. So I can believe it. I mean, getting things as accurate as that. And I think there was a thing in there that he put a new wedge in for a couple of shots and he hit it. And he called out, like saying to Adrian, because it was new raw face grooves versus previous grooves that he had that he'd worn in. And he said to Adrian, that shot went 78. And Adrian's like, oh, well, the track man says it's sort of 81. He's like, that wasn't an 81 swing. And he takes the old wedge, hits it 78 and goes, told you. You know what I mean? That's what we're dealing with, boys. That's what we're dealing with. So, Frankie, I've got to ask, how's the show's been going, mate? You've been flying. I've been following.
Dude, we rocked it. We did a show in Atlantic City, and it was our first show in a long time. We had one practice before it. I thought it went well. Great crowd, and then we got another practice under our belt and just rocked the fuck out of New York City. Went to Gramercy Theater. We had like 500 people in a place that fits 500 people. It was fucking awesome. The crowd was eating up every single beat that we were producing. Trent Daddy was in the crowd, probably popping his top off. It was a hell of a time. Yeah, it's one of those simulation things that we talked about when we were riding around in the bus in Scotland. We're at Barstool. Like, if you like something like that, you get to just go be a fucking rock star for a night. It's weird, but yeah, it was fun.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Obviously, I've been following you boys closely and watching everything you're doing. I mean, I've gone from like a fan to now I'm like diehard. I might even be getting a tattoo and everything. I'm like all in on it. I'm all in. I'm seeing, like I say, trophies getting won on tennis courts. I'm seeing that Riggs fixing the yips. Hey, Riggs, with the driver, we look like we're done. We're home free.
Got it fixed up. I'm hitting the driver pretty good now. I will say too, I mean, I had a little lesson yesterday. I'm going to post tonight with my boy John Costas where I went out. It's all about, so for me, it's all about the turn, not the slide. Trottie, that's the big deal for me. I got to fucking turn that right hip. Instead of that puppy going this way, I just got to start like going this way. And then it feels like I don't do shit. It feels like the easiest thing in the world. I just go this way and then just let it go. The ball just goes straight.
It's so good. It's so good. And we can all relate to it. I mean, honestly, out there this week doing some stuff on camera with Rory, and just he's in rig space right now. He's just a happy guy who knows where his swing is. He knows where his life is. He's got the buzz of doing the concerts like Frankie's got. He's just feeling good and he's flowing. And it makes obviously my job very easy. That compared, obviously you pair it in with great products. It's like, everyone's in a good spot, boys. I guess if you're not in a good spot in the golf world in the middle of August, then you're never going to get in a good spot. Like, now's the time. You got to be in a good spot.
How did the final pizza come out is the real question, because I know that we talked throughout the entire process. Looked like you were getting to a really good place. This whole thing started with you saying that your family didn't respect you when you tried to make a pizza and you needed some help because, you know, daddy would make pizza for the family and it just wasn't coming out good and they were throwing it back in your face. So we dialed that in. We got you the recipe. You started making the dough. You made more dough than Borelli's has on a Saturday night. You were stocked to the fucking roof. So you started sending me pizza by pizza, and I would say like the third pizza came out phenomenal. Like we were working on like burning the top, the cheese was burning, but the bottom was soft, and then we got that all figured out. How did it end up going?
I'm in a great spot. I mean, I'm 10 pizzas or 12 pizzas deep. And, you know, we froze a few of those bad boys. We got them out. We smashed them at the end. And everyone was like, because the family came back. So the deal was, as you quite rightly explained, I was going to get this dialed, eat a lot of pizza on my own, and then get people back and start getting a few friends around, start to see where life is at. And obviously the kids come back and the missus comes back. And my missus is a tough judge, to be fair. And she's like, yeah, not bad. But then you look at the kids and they smash it. So I think, whatever, I'll lay low on this. So 24, 48 hours go by and the kids are like, got any of those pizzas left? And I was like, well, you know, we have to get them out the freezer, kids. So we get them out the freezer. They have them. And I only had 2 left. Fire them up, get on that little uni thing, give it the big one. I saw on the internet, you have to raise it to the top if you want to crisp the thing like Frankie knows. Yeah, get it out. Job done. Lay it out on the table. And the missus says, who's one of the toughest judges this side of flipping Memphis, she gives it, this is all we got. And I'm like, well, this is the last of the dough, babe. This is the last of the dough, hon. I mean, and I got to feed the kids. This is the kids tonight. So, you know, and then I just sit there, leave it a little while. This is the key, though, Frankie. Leave it a little while. I like to keep a glass in the freezer for a cold beer. I go home the other night, open the freezer. Someone's gone out and bought a frozen pizza. And I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. Nobody wants to say, hey, Dad, can you rock up a load more dough? So I'm thinking this weekend I might start batch number 2, to be honest. So you'll be getting a bunch more messages next week. But all my mates now are like back in town. Everyone's done their summer vacation. So I also know if I make a big Borelli's order that it's going to be like everyone's just going to come in, encompass the house. So I got to think about that.
Well, that's amazing to hear. Yeah, you're taking strides. You're on your way to becoming a master pizza chef. You're going to have to upgrade the oven at some point. If you're going to make this into a thing, like we got to really dial in. You got to get one of those fucking legit things out in the backyard, start turning pizzas. We got to start moving it around, finding the hot spots. I want this to become like a hobby of yours because I love it. I love it.
I'm with you. I absolutely hear it. And it kind of transitions because I want to wait until, and he won't be listening, I don't think, but he'll get wind that I've talked about it. But I want to make a buddy of mine I want to bring up who plays Champions Tour. He just got a start last week in Canada, went and finished 3rd. He had a putt to get in the playoffs. So the next time I want to do it, I want him to be back in town and all fired up about it. So it's good, though. It's like I say, everyone I'm sort of kicking around with now, like in the golf world, August is good. You've got all your equipment dialed. You've gone through every bounce option there is. You've hit every wedge that's made. Then this comes out. You think, I'll just tweak. It's fine tuning, much like wedge fitting is. It's just fine tuning, getting it all dialed. It's a bit like the journey I'm on with this pizza, to be honest, Frankie. Just getting it dialed now, mate.
Dude, I love that.
Well, on the topic of food, I want you to know that you've ruined stateside Indian food for me because the feast that we had on the other side of the Atlantic was so good that I've had cravings for it. So I order it and I get my tiki masala, a couple chutneys, and they're just not the same as what we had in Scotland. Like not even close. That meal that we had that you took control of and ordered for the whole group, which was fantastic, is I'm gonna have to fly back over there just for that Indian food.
Mate, I went 4 years between eating Indian, which you're talking someone who was like a 3 Indian a week guy. And I went 4 years. So it's tough. I mean, you know, there's just nowhere quite like, and we went to Scotland as well, which I think, and the English people, if there's any listening, will be like, no, I think Scotland's better than England for Indian food myself. So, and that's coming from an Englishman. But, you know, boys, I'm glad we got to do it. And it was a great experience for sure. One of the highlights of the trip. And hopefully we bang all that out there and people can experience it through their YouTube channel.
100%.
For sure. I think I'm still shitting it out, by the way. It's still going through me.
Yeah,
it's a slow
I think
process.
I texted Trottie the next day. We were texting back and forth. He's like, how you feeling? I was like, it was more of a battle than my usual dinner. And he was like, that's part of the experience. If you have good Indian food, you're battling it through the night, all part of the experience. That's why I learned.
Dude, I think I had 6 porcelain sits between post dinner to first tea time. I mean, it was an absolute mess. But the food, I will say, was delicious. And to Trottie's point, the key to good Indian food is a fish tank in the restaurant. That's what they have.
100% Lurchy.
Trottie, while we got you, we're gonna do we gotta do a little bit of from the gallery, which is, you know, submissions from the listeners, from the fans. They always submit some good ones. It's brought to you by Truly Hard Seltzer, which, if you're out there, it's a hot summer day. So hot that Frankie wore shorts yesterday. It's hot all over the country right now, literally everywhere from Memphis to Arizona to New York. It's hot everywhere. Truly Hard Seltzer. It's a clean, crisp, refreshing hard seltzer. It's got a hint of fruit in there. They got over 30 flavors, so there's something for everyone. Little wild berry has been my favorite forever, but they got a lot of good flavors now. All cans have under 110 calories, 1 gram of sugar, and are naturally gluten-free. You can find Truly Hard Seltzer near you at trulyhardseltzer.com. So big thanks to Truly for sponsoring this and also for sponsoring the Barstool Classic for 4 years straight. I'm going to start with Jeff Smith from Utah, and I like that he wrote that he's from Utah, like it's in Miracle, where they have to like say where they're from, what school they play for. Jeff Smith from Utah says, I'm listening now. I mow my lawn 1 time a week, and I have 2 pairs of golf shoes, 1 for golf and 1 for mowing my lawn. We got into a discussion last show, Trottie, about when people mow the lawn, do they wear golf shoes? So do you, as someone who, you know, when you mow a lawn, do you have any takes on whether you wear golf shoes or not?
Well, I'm living the American dream now. So it's like I've got artificial lawn. Like that's just the way you roll. Like I ain't got a lot of space because I live in California. So you stick down some fake stuff so the dog can go to the bathroom and then you don't have to mow it. Perfect. But when I lived in the UK, I was in a flat. So we're going back years.
It's the American dream.
Yeah. The only lawn I've mown in the last 35 years would have been my old man's. And I was doing it because I wanted some money to buy back then a new wedge, which would have also had a high toe. So, you know, that's basically the inspiration for mowing the lawn. Did I wear golf shoes? Nah, just threw on a pair of trainers, which is sneakers, man. Just threw on some sneakers and got out there and got it done. You know what I mean? But I mean, I couldn't afford golf shoes. I remember wearing golf shoes that were like a size and a half too big because my mum kept saying I was going to grow, but it never really happened. So I just looked like a clown on the golf course with these colossal golf shoes on. Now I'm in a much better place. I put some new shoes on actually today. Got some new shoes on, boys. Look at those. And
That's right.
I wouldn't be mowing any lawns in these.
No.
And to be honest, I wouldn't be mowing lawns in golf shoes myself. But I can see where
I got a lot of hate. I got a lot of hate for that question, and then I had to remind people it was a question. I didn't know the answer to it. You know, it was just something that came up in conversation. I said, do you think people wear golf shoes? Because I was out finally. You know, I just moved into a new house. I got some land in the backyard. I was fucking doing some dirt work, and I saw the shoes in my garage. I'm like, oh, these are nice. They usually walk on grass and dirt. I'm going to go wear these out there. So I posed a question. Do people do that? And the answer is a resounding no. No one wears golf shoes while mowing their lawn, and they're angry about the thought of it. Real angry.
Well, they're always angry about everything. They're just a bunch of fucking losers on the internet. Trottie, we're going to continue on From the Gallery, brought to you by Truly. Davis, this is a relevant one. I'll explain why. Davis says, how do we feel about iron covers? I absolutely hate them, as I think most golfers do, but I have a buddy who uses them and won't stop because, quote, they protect his clubs. The idea of iron covers are great, but they look ridiculous. I will say that the Golf WRX guys did a post. They went over to my bag during the Pro-Am last week at the Wyndham, took a bunch of photos of my clubs, and then posted a pretty detailed what's in the bag as a cool segment. People were losing their minds over how beat up my golf clubs were. From my putter to my irons, everything's just got nicks, and they're just been beat up. And people are like, what the fuck happened to your clubs? My theory is that I fly so much with my golf clubs and I don't have some like crazy covers or whatever, that they just get dinged up. Those fucking guys at Delta, American, wherever, they just throw those things all over the place. We all see it. Colin Morikawa and those were just laying on the runway the other day for like 30 minutes. They don't give a fuck about your club. So those things just get dinged up all over the place. That's sort of my theory as to why my clubs are as beat up as they are. People roast iron covers on the internet all the time. That's like one of the go-to cliche jokes to make fun of somebody, so much so that it makes me want to go the other way. But I don't think that I can, because I do think that they make your bag look pretty stupid overall. You, as a guy who's obsessed with clubs, a master club fitter, do you have any takes on iron covers?
I'm a big tools, not jewels guy. So like for me, I'm all out on iron covers. But obviously, look, I can kind of like, if something goes wrong without sounding a douche here, I can just walk in and be like, boys, give me a few components and I'll whip something together. But it becomes like the hassle of it, because I'm of that generation. If you start hitting good shots with something, you don't really want to screw with it. So it's like, I'm that mentally soft, I guess. But I know Nadal does all sorts of jazz like that with his socks and everything, doesn't he? And I can get like that. And like the grips have got, I don't like changing grips because then they're new and you got to wear them in. So if there's a few nicks and cuts and bruises in the face, I like it. For an actual period of time when I was playing a lot more serious golf than I am now, I went no wood covers. I mean, that is ballsy.
That's barbaric.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
that is
crazy.
like ballsy. And if you start throwing stuff like that, that's pretty damn cool. And then to even look that bit more like pimpy, I'd get like back in the day, like a 1-iron or something. And then you'd put a little sock on the 1-iron. It wouldn't be an iron cover. It'd be a sock. And it'd be a long, like football sock, real football soccer. And you just put that thing halfway down the shaft and people are looking at you like, what is this dick doing? But then when you stood up and pulled out 1-iron on like a mouse's ear tee shot, tight as a mouse's ear, you got 1-iron with a graphite shaft and you just throw the sock next to your bag, chuck it on the floor and you just rifle that thing. Everyone's like, this little kid with big shoes looks like he knows what he's doing.
Tell me you didn't. Tell me your bag was no head covers on the woods and just the sock on the 1-iron.
You got it, kid. I mean, that was the way to go.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Tools, not jewels. Tools, not jewels is amazing. You could have stopped talking there. That's such a great little bit that I'm gonna live by that. Tools, not jewels. Awesome.
But I was a kid though, boys, and I picked it up off this guy, and it was back when House and Hippos make it to America. Was that ever a thing here? Like Woosnam played it. You guys ever? Anyway, Howsam was pretty cool. Woosnam was pretty cool. I mean, the guy was smaller than me, hit it forever. And I was like pretty good, but playing with older kids. And I remember there was this kid called Alistair, but it was with a D. So, you know, he's a proper, like his parents must be proper old school, like Alistair. And he would stand there and he'd swing this 1-iron. It was a Howson with this gold shaft and he had a sock on it. That's where I got it from. And he'd get to the top of the backswing and he was like the original Hideki. And you'd be looking at him thinking, is this guy going to go? I mean, is he going to go? Is this happening? And he was, you know, he was 17, 18. And then all of a sudden the ground would start to move. And you'd think, fuck, is there a train coming or something? And it would just be the start of his downswing. And this Howson thing, he would just crush. And it would come out like flipping a scolded cat. And you'd be stood there. And I was like, I got to get me a sock and a Howson 1-iron. I got to get in that game. That's how that happened. So yeah, I'm not an iron cover guy, but I'm a sock guy. If you start throwing socks at me, I can buy into that.
I like it.
It led to his foot fetish later on in years.
Yeah.
In his later years.
We'll keep rolling because these are fun and Trottie. I don't know.
Where was he from, Riggs? You know, I mean, the first guy's from Utah. Where's this guy from?
Hopefully this starts a trend of everyone telling us where they're from.
Yeah, start telling us where you're from.
I'll say when people are from another country, they always tell us. So it'll be like, you know, whatever. Tim from fucking Australia, they write that every time. But when they're from the U.S., they don't usually do it. That's why Jeff Smith from Utah just made me. And I like that he didn't put the city. He just put Utah. I feel like, do you guys, yeah, I guess, would you usually go state or would you go like your town that you're from?
What I think you got to do, I mean, there has to be some rules here because you must get tons of these from the galleries. So it's got to be like, okay, name, from, state or town, that's their call. Answer the iron cover question. Answer the do you mow your lawn in golf shoes question. And then favorite truly flavor. Then we'll ask the question. I mean, there should be some golden rules here.
It would be nice to set it up like, I don't know how we would do it. You'd need a website, but there are those ones where it's like first name, last name, where you from, answer these questions, then you put it into a database. Right now, we're just all emails.
Hey, boy, look, to be honest with you, I've been watching how you lads do this, and I feel like this would now be a great time to add in, and I don't know if they're a partner of the show, and maybe Riggs will lose it because he's the master, and I'm not stepping on Riggs' toes here, but I'm sure with Shopify, that I think is partnered with you boys, you can do something where you can't get past the screen unless you list all these things. And you should have it. That, look, you cannot get past and ask me these gallery questions unless you answer these things. I think you can say what you want, but that's how you get Riggs to call out your name, you know?
I think it's just genius. I think it's genius that we're gonna make people put their favorite Truly flavor in these. I don't know how we didn't think of that before. That's a fucking no-brainer. If you don't have a favorite Truly question or flavor, you don't get to ask the question. You're just not even eligible.
That's
right.
right.
And then it make it great for you. It's like a real life filter. Just let's get this going. You know what I mean? Real life filter. I mean, we can even get people to list their favorite high toe wedge. What lofts do they play? What bounces do they play? Why?
Beautiful.
Have they got hands like Lurch, Steffi Graf? Like, what's going on, boys?
I like it.
I got this. We've got
it.
a whole new section there. Someone put that down on the cutting room floor. We might keep it.
I think we're using it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. This one, Tyler from we don't know where he's from or what is. We're gonna pretend like his favorite Truly flavor is watermelon kiwi. Does that work?
Yeah,
Very
Yep.
nice.
Everybody. I've always wondered this, and it really bothers me, but let's say there's a street with houses on it, and they are all numbered in order without missing any numbers, and then someone buys a piece of property on that street and builds a new house. What do they number that new house? I feel like I never see houses that are numbered out of order, but there's no way every house in existence has been built at the same time or before they were all put in order.
Wait, I don't know if I understand the question.
So essentially he's saying a neighborhood goes up, but every single lot wasn't sold or built upon, right? And then in the future, it might be a couple of years, it might be 20 years. You know, there is a lot that ends up getting parceled off, sold, they build a new home. Do they then, if it was like it went, 42 sailboat, 44 sailboat, 46 sailboat on one side, do they just then put in, like, what happens? Because, they do odd and even on, like, how come there aren't homes that are out of order, essentially, is what his point is. Do they change the address of the current homes?
I would think it's like a society thing. Like, you have to keep it in
order.
Or that, like, that property that's the number of the property, right?
Or I guess, is that where you get into like 21A and B? But that's more like sweet.
I don't think you get to choose the number of the property. I think that's like the U.S. Postal Codes, like the U.S. Postal Service needs you to stay in order so that when you get mail and shipments and stuff and they're driving down the street, like it's a fucking...
Yeah, but I've never heard of somebody getting bumped down. Like if you were 22 and lot 21 subdivided, you don't just get moved to now you're like 23 Main Street. That has never happened.
Wouldn't it be like, all right, if there's 3 lots and the 2 lots on the side are houses and the one in the middle is a lot that has not had anything built on it. The one on the right is like 2103 and then the one on the left is 2105. And then once that one gets bought and built, isn't that 2104?
Right, but how about
because they do right? They do odds on one side of the street and evens on the other side of the street.
I don't think I have the brain power to answer this question.
I think I'm with Lurch. I know it's more condos, but they start throwing letters in, don't they, and stuff like that. England, they would just start. I think England, they name the houses. Like the house gets a name, doesn't even get a number. And where it gets screwed up in England is, and it's usually the more affluent areas, but where it gets screwed up, say the house has a name, and then the person who owns it gets a nice sign and then puts it in like a daft font so no one can actually read it anyway. And it's like the name of the house or whatever cottage. And you're a bit like,
what do you name your guys? What do you name your houses?
They go with all sorts, don't they? Like, I don't know, Legendary Cottage or South Cottage or North Cottage or Picket Fence Street, House 1. I mean, it wouldn't have a number, but, they come up with something legendary.
When you are on the course, ladies and gentlemen, crushing drives, crushing beers, crushing Trulies, crushing cocktails, having a great time, the last thing you're thinking about is hydration. You know what? The next day, that's all you're going to be thinking about. We've all been there a million times. That's why you need Biolite. It is IV in a bottle. Biolite is a physician-formulated recovery drink made with all natural ingredients that will help you feel better fast. Look, at the end of the day, Biolite just makes you feel better. Drink them while you're having drinks. drink them the next morning to recover. When we were at the Barstool Classic a week and a half ago in Pittsburgh, myself, Kisner, Tommy Wyatt, Paco, the whole Aiken gang, we were pounding those things. And yes, were we in bad shape? Absolutely. Did that help us get through it? They make you feel so much better. Again, your body just starts craving it. The different elements and blood cells from your freaking fingers start reaching out, going towards the esophagus, being like, what is that good shit going down the throat there? We need that. We need that real stuff because all we've had is garbage. So instead of downing sports drink after sports drink after sports drink, you just drink a single bottle of Biolite, and let me tell you, it'll work like a charm. It is IV in a bottle. It's only 45 calories, contains a third of the amount of sugar. You don't have to worry about messing up your carefully crafted dad bod. It also comes in 4 different flavors: citrus, berry, tropical, and melon. Biolite is our official drink. It's as good as it gets. It's now available to purchase directly on their website. You go to drinkbiolite.com/barstool and use code FOREPLAY for 10% off your first order. That's drinkbiolite.com/barstool. Use the code FOREPLAY. You get 10% off. Biolite will change you, right, gentlemen? A little hydration for the
Oh my
fellas.
gosh, dude. I
And the
played
gals,
golf
and
yesterday.
anybody.
It felt like it was 120 degrees outside and water wasn't cutting it. Like when water's just not getting it done, you know you need something extra, which is why there's a legitimate business that was built and like an invention was made so that like you could get more hydration when water's just not cutting it, and that's Biolite. Like that, like people legitimately went to school and they went to business schools and they fucking went to these labs and they realized that you needed to make something that would help you hydrate more than water, and that's Biolite. This is by no
Biolite.
coincidence or by any
Gotta be
fucking
hydrated.
bullshit. Gotta be hydrated.
Use the code FOREPLAY, 10% off your first order. That's drinkbiolite.com/barstool.
Bro, Great Britain over there, and when I was doing my expenses for like some of the little things that we got in Scotland, like trying to find those areas that we like when you have to put a location in, fucking Europe and England. The way you guys do like zip codes or whatever those numbers are, it felt like I was expensing stuff from another world. It was like, I mean, Trent, did you guys
Here
do
we
this?
go. Let me say it for you. You felt like you were in Harry Potter.
I felt like I was in Harry Potter. I was like, what am I fucking expensing this to Gryffindor? There was dashes, there was numbers, there were symbols I'd never seen before. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, but you have to understand, and it's interesting, the expense game, how we've got onto this, because you have to understand you're sending it back to an American person that's going to sign off or make sure you get paid your expenses. So the main thing you've got to figure out, are you going to put in the dollar amount and then let the expense system turn it on their exchange rate, which is always going to kill you, into the pound amount and then change it into dollars? Or are you just going to wait until you get your credit card statement and just throw that in so that you don't get crucified? Or are you going to go, not that I've ever done this, but I've got friends who've done it, you just make up a little expense to make up for the loss you've had in the exchange rates. You know what I mean? I've heard people do that. I don't know anything about that move, but I've heard people do it. Conveniently lost receipt, but here's like $50 just made up.
I think the system that we use, it translates it. I think when you put in the location, it says like, this is the exchange rate. I'm pretty sure that's what it does.
Yeah, that's the exchange rate. But how do you know that's your credit card exchange rate?
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to.
And if you're
Yeah, that gets a
expensing
little
Indian
dicey.
food for 25 people, you want to get that puppy right, because you can be out of pocket quite a bit. But you know what? It depends. If you had a nice meal, then you don't mind buying you lads Indian food out your own pocket. That's fine. Whatever. I had a laugh.
Nice
Yeah,
meal's a nice meal. I had a laugh. Trottie, you so if I understand this correctly, you've been on site. You were on site in Memphis with a couple of the boys. What are we looking at? What are there any like equipment changes, any tweaks that the fellas are going to be rocking based on TPC Southwind? I know they got a bunch of rain yesterday, so since it's going to be softer, anybody doing anything different? They're trying to hit it higher. What are we looking at for kind of club equipment choices for some of the big names?
So we'll get into one for you straight away, but just to sort of say, yeah, I was out there and it worked out pretty well. I was meant to come back. So I've been able to do this podcast because I got back yesterday, but I was meant to come back tonight. So we get everything wrapped. You guys live in this world, so you understand it. We get everything wrapped really early. And we called back to TaylorMade and Carlsbad, and we're like, look, we've done everything. We've nailed it. The boys were on form. Everyone's in a great place. Trottie smashed what he had to do. So the guys here are like, oh, well, look, if you can do a Scotty Scheffler Watts in the bag and a Rory McIlroy Watts in the bag. And of course, immediately, I'll be honest with you, lads, I'm sat there listening to this thing thinking, you know, these lads aren't going to turn up. I'm going to be stood here another 12 hours waiting just to get 2 minutes of goddamn stuff. And then as if it was someone parting the waters, Harry Diamond turns up with Rory's golf bag, skipping out the clubhouse. And I'm like, let's get him quick. Boom, do the Watts in the bag, one take. And then next thing, Essie, the legend that is, the doer, the man at the closer, comes up to me and goes, listen, I've found Scheffler's golf bag. We want to get it done. Within 20 minutes of getting off the phone back to Carlsbad to say, we've got to do these two things, I was in the car on the way to the airport. Essie's the next phone call. Dude, you're going to do a podcast tomorrow morning with the Barstool guys. You good with that? I was like, Essie, this is like a dream come true. There's no problems in Dallas-Fort Worth. I shall be home and ready to rock and roll. So it's just amazing how
What a legend.
It was meant to be. But look, onto the equipment changes, which was the original question. So last time we saw Rory McIlroy, and he lives a busy life, guys. I mean, I was chatting to him about where he's been since I last saw him, and he's as busy as you cats. And he was playing a low bounce. So again, bounce is the camber on the sole. Playing at St. Andrews, it's very firm. So you want not a lot of camber on this sole section. He was playing a low bounce wedge up in Scotland because obviously it's firm. So he wants that for those turf conditions. He's now playing a 58-degree mill grind 3. But where he gets into it, he's playing standard bounce. You used to play high bounce. So again, this angle here used to have 14 or 13. He's now rocking like an 11. And then he bends his 58-degree. This is where it gets like sock head cover status. He bends his 58-degree to 59 to add a degree of bounce. And then when he plays those Memphis Bermuda fairways, that 59-degree, and he's figured out that like extra degree of bounce is just what he needs to hit those little spinners and little zippers. And just watching him yesterday, boys, honestly, it was like a masterclass. So I was like, you know what? Fair dues.
Crazy.
And you got to go through
game.
that extent. It just shows you, though, like I said to him, like, how many wedges have you gone through? And because he's really learned a lot about wedges this year. And he was talking about his visits on the truck, off the truck, how often he changes grooves out the raw faces, why he's done what he's done based on where he's playing. And I look at all us guys and it's like, I'm pretty detailed, but it's my job. Honestly, we can all benefit from it. You just have to delve into it. You have to get a relationship with a club fitter, a relationship with a teacher, which I know on your journey now, you boys are all getting, but it's huge. It really is. It can save you many, many shots.
I don't know if it's ever going to get to that level for us boys, but you know, it's good to hear that others are doing it, that you can do it with TaylorMade, because I'm happy with the high toe. I'm happy with the lessons that you gave me. Get a little steeper on those little tight lies. But I don't think that's ever in the cards for me.
Bends it to a 59.
Right. And to think that would matter, you know, like
Right.
in your mind when you're like 58, 59, no, I'm going to get a little bit bounce. I'm going to be happier with that. I'm going to put it now maybe like six inches closer than I would with just a standard 58. I'm going to make maybe one more putt around. I'm going to win the tournament by 4 because I'm going to make one more putt. It's like, dude, save it.
Let me read a text from you to you guys that I got from our very good friend Trottie on this exact point, because I was texting him about wedges, and I was looking at it was a what's in the bag that was posted probably by TaylorMade, I'm sure, about it was Rory's wedge setup for the Open Championship and how he only uses 3 wedges and how they're kind of turned down. And I was texting Trottie because I use 4 wedges, and here I am thinking like, if fucking Rory McIlroy is using 3, and it was somebody else up there too that he was talking about was only using 3, should I go to 3 wedges? And Trottie sends me, here's the text, and this is to your point right there, Lurch, of like, imagine this mattering. Trottie goes, find a good 47 degree that goes a good yardage. The 770 isn't going to cut it for your game. You need a more versatile pitching wedge, but not one that only goes 100 yards. Then you need to be handy with your 54 and bend the 60 to 59. But you need skills with the 54 if you want to go that route. Also play standard bounce and only come off that when you're in the UK. All other bounces are just a head fuck. Then get good playing ball forward for high chips and back for runners. Job done. And then he goes, But with that said, you hit it far enough for the tees you play, so why take out a wedge at all?
There you go.
Exactly. Exactly.
No problem.
So, I mean, let's dissect that for a minute, though, Riggs. I mean, I still stand by what I've said to you. And, you know, Rory McIlroy is using a 46-degree mill grind free. And we were chatting about that. And he's talking about spin rates and wanting to zip it a bit more. Now, I could have gone into that on a text message with you, but my fingers would be, they'd have little wear marks in them, like an old set of blades. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to tell him what he needs to hear here.
I loved it. You should have seen me. Like, I think I had a flight after that. The whole flight, I was just sitting there thinking about, God, I've been doing it wrong this whole time with my wedge setup. Of course, I should be bending my 60 down to 59. And I just, the whole fucking time. And then, you know, I came back and of course I did none of it. But it gets me so jacked up to go to another fitting. Like the next time we get to go back to the Kingdom, because when you have, you know, the launch monitor and the numbers, and you have someone like you that is so fucking knowledgeable about the whole thing, that is watching, you know, the way that we hit the ball and then giving you little tweaks, and you still swing the same way. You don't have to change the way you do the entire game, and the ball flies differently, flies a different yardage, comes in a different trajectory with different spin. It is so amazing how the equipment can drastically affect, you know, how you hit the ball. And ultimately, if you figure out the right stuff, how easy it can make it, you know, for you to hit shots without having to feel like you, again, like change your whole fucking game.
I got to be honest, mate. I was quite proud of you when I saw you do the daily 9 with the driver, because there was a bit of me in Scotland and I laid off it because we were playing all this different golf, and I deliberately didn't go there. I actually put my work head on a little bit, and I was like, fuck, he's having a trip. He's enjoying himself. Leave him. You know what I mean? Like, let him play golf. But the 3-wood thing is killing me. I mean, it's like, you've got speed. You can hit it. And it's like, because of delivery, the 3-wood's great. So then I sort of half hinted, didn't I, on text as we were all pulling out and going our own way. I was like, mate, you got to sort that driver out. And I was like, I'm going to let him just think about that as he goes through Amsterdam and wherever the hell
Trottie,
else
that's sort of hinting at it. I don't know if that's sort of hinting at it. I think that's just politely telling somebody that you got to sort the driver out.
Just got to be able to hit the driver.
You just have, mate, because you got speed. And once you do that, then you unlock this like wedge world. So your head's in the right place, you know?
No, you couldn't be more correct. And it's going to lead me to my final question, because we were just talking about Rory, and I was looking it up. Rory, I think this year, Rory is 3rd in strokes gained off the tee. Last year, I believe he was 4th. The year before that, he was 6th. Rory's probably the best driver of the golf ball, maybe of all time, when you consider things. And the last question, for anybody who doesn't know, this is the first time ever, by the way. Last question is brought to you by CrossCountry Mortgage. We want you to feel at home with the driver. We want you to feel at home with your home. Frankie's a huge CrossCountry Mortgage guy.
Fucking love CrossCountry Mortgage. I have a mortgage with CrossCountry. I literally pay them.
Is it Chris? Is it your boy Chris?
Chris Devon. Yeah, they are the people that got me in my house. I love this house. I've been doing a lot of different types of renovations and transformations. I showed Trent Daddy one of the things I did yesterday. It's just fun to have a place. Trent Daddy's got a place. Like CrossCountry Mortgage, they're people helping people. That's the biggest thing. You're not calling some call center where it's like a million people just trying to get you a number and then an interest rate, and then they hang up and they go to the next one. Chris Devon legitimately like sent me like bottles of alcohol and like a welcome mat he's like my friend. He's like one of my best friends now.
The CrossCountry Mortgage, last question. You go to crosscountrymortgage.com/barstool. CrossCountry Mortgage will take care of you through the home buying process. Equal housing opportunity. CrossCountry Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans subject to underwriting approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. I want you to feel at home, obviously, with CrossCountry Mortgage. I would like to feel at home with the driver. I think it's unbelievably important. There were so many rounds he played in Scotland where even I was getting around with my 3-wood and my 2-iron, and Lurch was just pounding his driver, and I was like, we're just giving away too many fucking yards. So for Rory, one of the best drivers of all time, you get off the tee very well. Trottie, you smoke it out there even for a little fella. What are the keys for you? A couple things that folks can think about in terms of driving the golf ball consistently, hitting it out there in a spot where they're going to be able to take advantage of par 5s. They're going to be able to, on par 4s, make sure they're in play, Make sure they're not losing it off the tee. Make sure they don't have the yips like Riggs did at the Pro-Am and you're getting laughed at by country stars and professional golfers and Peter Millar, your own company, is roasting you. What are keys that people could think about off the tee to ensure that they're consistent with the driver?
So it's a good question, and I got a few like golden rules. First point, like, it does the whole require driver. So before you even pull the damn thing out the golf bag, does it require driver? If it does, pull it out. You're hitting it. So it's like once you take that first step, you're committed. You're hitting that club. Don't be thinking, oh shit, do I want to hit this down? Yes, you're hitting the driver. Next thing, pick a target that's small. Aim small, miss small. Number one factor. And know if you're a bit of a fader or if you're a bit of a drawer. And look, if you're a bit of a drawer, then it's okay to take that initial start line target a little right, if you're a right-handed golfer, of where you want that ball to finish, because you're going to draw that thing. So you might as well take a start line that's a little right of it and draw it back. And then the next piece, tee height is crucial. If you want to hit a bomb, tee the golf ball high, because the CG of the ball will be above the CG of the club. It'll be a high launch, it'll be low spin. If you are slightly squeaky bum and you're concerned, tee it down a little bit. You're then going to get the center of gravity of your driver above the center of gravity of the ball. It'll give you a low launch with a bit more spin, which will go straighter. That solves that part. The final bit, and as I look at you here, the lads in the studio here are big like baseball fans, to the point where we're even watching. I mean, what is this, boys? We got New Hampshire against Massachusetts. It's Little League. We got Little League on in the background. This can only work because I have no idea what's going on. But there's kids running around playing baseball and everyone seems entertained. More entertained than me talking on this podcast. But I can't
American
understand.
dream.
Yeah. But the point is, lads, is as I watch and I can just see for the right of the screen, I can just see the batter. And the thing that we can all learn with this, bear with me, we're going somewhere here, boys, is that the right-handed batter, as he sets up to this thing, I know nothing about baseball, but you can see that he plants his left foot. So there's a plant, he lifts up his left heel, then he turns, he puts the left heel down, and he goes. That right there is Rory McIlroy's golf swing. That right there is why Rory McIlroy, who is not much taller than me, and I am only just taller than Ian Woosnam, who was maybe the smallest human ever to play golf, that is why Rory McIlroy hits it 330 on the goddamn fly with 110 peak height and a 6-degree up angle with driver, which, you know, I work towards that. You're talking like 0 on the angle of attack, which is massive. You're talking 20 mile an hour less speed, and I'm still pretty quick. But it's all like, you got to feel the ground. You got to get the left heel planted. You got to get the left hip turning through. You got to get the belt buckle turning through. And by the time you get to that point, look at my arms now. You can even see it from there. They're not out here like some happy hamburger trying to slap that thing. No. They're in here, and I'm turning on that puppy. And all of a sudden, look, if I played Little League, which I'm tall enough to get into it, I'd be here, and all of a sudden you are just absolute rip ski, and off it goes. And I think that people listening to this will have forgotten the first 3 or 4 points already. So just plant your left foot and turn and get your belt buckle going through. Control it by the body like the little baseball guys do, rather than, and I should respect the little the baseball guys that are bigger than me do, who are playing Little League, but do that and you'll hit it a long way, rather than fannying about trying to chop down on this thing as if you're trying to put it through the floor. That doesn't work. Trent, Daddy, I got to be honest, you're a bit that way, son. You got to be a bit more like, get it going this way. You know what I mean?
I know.
But I still stand by what I said back there in Scotland. This 90 target, it's on. You're not that far away, but you lose a shit ton of speed because you're hitting it all with arms like this, and you got to get Little League in it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
It's amazing just hearing everyone that knows what they're talking about say essentially the exact same thing. And what I realized yesterday, what I learned yesterday, was like, yes, we all know you're supposed to turn and not, slide and sway. We all know that. We've all heard that. But actually understanding it and why, and so often we get caught up in the backswing and how to take the hands away and where the hands are going to be at the top, that you don't realize the most important part is slipping or sliding, or that your spine angle is changing. And what I learned yesterday, that was an amazing point, is like when you slide, if a right-handed golfer, when you slide to the right, your hip and your ass and your fucking body are taking up all that space that you're supposed to use to bring the club in on a neutral path or from the inside a little bit, to the point where, guys were telling me when I was hitting this fucking giant banana shit slice thing out of play, coming 12 degrees from outside in, like, no, you need to hit the ball from the inside. But what I was doing in my backswing was literally not allowing any room where I could possibly hit the ball from the inside. So it was by just literally turning and feeling like my right hip is pulling from a cord over kind of out like in front and right of me, pulling a cord like backwards and to the right. It is now clearing and opening up all of this space where I can now bring the club in on a much more neutral path, that it didn't feel like I was changing anything in my swing except that hip thing. And all of a sudden I would just swing as hard as I could and the ball just goes straight, because instead of coming way from the outside and hitting this weak, pathetic, again, 12 degrees or whatever it was outside in, you're now opening up this space, and your body is so naturally like talented. The human brain and coordination is actually fucking amazing, that your body, when you have this space, will just hit the ball in a much more naturally sound and fundamentally sound way, that it was way easier than thinking about my backswing and where my hands are. You don't have to think about any of that. It was like, if you just clear that space, your body now will occupy that space properly by bringing the club through, which is what you're talking about.
The problem is, just to dive in there quick, is you get all these teachers out there, and it's a bit like, it's become like this marketing game, hasn't it? It's become the social media teacher, the tour pro teacher, the biomechanics guy, and they say all of this stuff, and you look at it, and it's a bit like trying to frickin' read Braille when you don't, you can see, but like, why? I have the greatest respect for Braille, but I don't need it right now. Like, someone just tell me or write down what's happening, and it's like, Riggs, get your hip and get it over there. And in turn, that will be, you're now extending better rather than staying in side bend. But two things that you don't give a shit about: extension, side bend. What? Do this with your hip and you got that covered. And that's kind of why, like, I planted the seed on the way back. It's like, I'm just going to tell him now that everything's over, that him not using driver is shit. He needs to use driver. Think about this for 10 hours on your way back to the United States. You now need to use driver, my friend.
Clearly, it's been on my brain. Clearly.
Hey,
Trottie,
on the tools not jewels thing, before we go, we did this what's in the bag yesterday, and obviously I'm going through Rory's clubs and I'm sieving through, and he's got a really old Spider head cover that when you open it on the inside, it says champion, and it was rare. We never sold it, and you realize that even in his mind, like, he's got something connected to that. So I peel it off as I'm doing the what's in the bag, and I'm like, interesting, you still got this old head cover, and it weighs a lot. You can tell it's not the new editions that are much lighter, much more streamlined. I toss it to one side and I look at the putter, and I'm about to reveal it to the camera. And to your point, there's so many people on the internet who don't understand or just hate on everything. And I look at this putter, and on the top of the True Path in this Spider X, there is a huge chip where the paint is missing, a huge chip. So Essie's doing the film work. I mean, the man of many talents. And I sort of put my thumb on it and show him the putter so that no one can see that it's truly tools, not jewels. And I'm like, there's Rory's putter. This is the game. This is the old faithful. Put it quickly back in the bag. A bit more paint falls off it or whatever. And I'm like, that's his boy. That is his boy that he trusts. And when you put your trust into a golf club, it's important. Now, there's a guy who can change his clubs at any given moment, and he is even living by the rules of tools, not jewels, boys.
Fuck yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Love to
Man,
hear
I love that. God, people are such idiots on the internet. Just such losers. Such losers.
They're bad,
Trottie,
but
you're
then
the
they
man.
also they're bad, but then they also bring to light the fact that Trent is the #1 khaki wearing human being in America. Did you know that, Trottie? You're talking to a fucking legend right now. This guy is #1. No one wears khakis more than him in America. We've tried to do the math.
We solved it here.
And he wears a black T-shirt, and he enjoys a little chest pocket. I mean, but it makes complete sense. I actually told my wife about that. I said, I've been on this trip with this fella. I said, and of course, how's she going to know Trent? I'm like, he's the luggage guy off of some show that you probably watch. And she's like, oh, yeah. I said, there you go. I said, did you see that he did it in like khakis that are beige and a black tie? I said, well, that's his deal. And she's like, what? Why wouldn't you get dressed? No. That is his deal. That's the only thing he specified that he wanted to do. And she's like, and I said, how good's that? Like, that's pretty freaking genius. And she's like, no, I think that he should wear. And I was like, oh, you just don't get it today. I was like, you're missing the point, darling. I said, it's absolutely genius. And it would make life a lot easier in my house if I had saw like that. I like to rock a bit of color. You wouldn't know it. I'm in black today, but it is what it is, you know? I actually think it's a good move, Trent, and I got nothing but respect for it. A bit like the fella Alistair who had the House and Hippo 1-iron with the sock all the way down. I mean, I like it. Am I big enough character to go there? Maybe not, but I like you doing it.
No, I appreciate it. Anybody can do it. If you're looking to streamline your life, just start wearing the same thing every day. Buy the things that you wear in bulk and just start your day knowing that you don't have to think about that.
Makes it easy.
It's fucking genius.
Yeah.
Makes it easy. Trottie, you're the man. We appreciate
Cheers,
it as
fella.
always. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, of course. Lovely to see you, boys. Lovely to see you. When are we getting you all
Always.
to the kingdom? It's happening soon, isn't it? You coming soon or what?
Yeah, I think we usually do it in the wintertime, right? We do like an annual checkup basically with you.
We need some new gear though, don't we? So yeah, it'll be a little while yet. But yeah, I mean, you're welcome anytime, boys. Anyone's in town, swing by.
Trottie Golf,
Will
go
do.
check him out. Instagram. He's all over the internet. He's a master fitter. He's our boy. We appreciate you as always, Trottie. Thank you.
Cheers, fellas. Great
Thanks,
to hear from
Trottie.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Trottie.
you, my man.
Wow, look at
Wow,
that fade.
yeah.
That's the cleanest
Yeah,
entrance.
fade
man.
outro.
That was clean.
That fucking shit is crazy. Their production value is nuts for these things.
What a fade in, fade out. He came from underneath the table. That's Trottie.
It's not
All
being
right, boys.
talked. It definitely wasn't talked about enough in the beginning that they tried to do like a ridiculous dramatic
Yeah, I think
entrance.
we kind of fouled that up. I think they were like,
Well,
kinda
we're
hoping-
idiots. I mean, they
Right.
can't,
There's
we can
lights
barely
going
get-
around. Like they wanted us to be like, "Oh, what's happening?" You know what I mean? Like, is this an
Get that
entrance? And
into
then
a
he
promo.
rose from beneath the table.
Right,
Like,
that was
And
crazy.
meanwhile,
You have to
we're
go
like,
on
we
YouTube
think
and
the
watch
lights
this.
are broken, and your lights are broken. We're like knocking on the screen.
Like, Trottie does not need an extravagant entrance. He's the man.
He is.
True.
He really
He's
is.
great.
He is the entrance. He's great. All right, boys. I think we're done here. We got the beginning of the FedEx Cup playoff starts this weekend. So, enjoy it. Memphis, the whole deal. We'll be back on Tuesday, per usual, for yet another show. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.